Hi, and welcome to the Ada K Show. I am Ada K. Brown, and am currently a criminal justice major, and I'm a deaf courtroom commentator. Grab a cup of Java, and let's dive in. Good morning, everyone. Hello. Whoa, that's hot. Woo. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone's well and you've got some sleep. I did not. I didn't get much sleep last night, and I mean literally. Good morning, Ronnie. First in chat is Aaron, June, and Ronnie. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I unfortunately, well, the rains were awful. They were loud and big, and they didn't stop to 4 this morning. And then, I just yeah, tough night last night. I did do some storm watching last night. We have a parking garage in our, town that's public. It's only, like, 4 stories tall. But uh-oh, wrong one. No, that's not what I asked for. That gets this. Okay, I gotta get everything kind of set up. Anyway, went up there, did some shooting, lightning shooting, which is not easy, y'all. It's hard to catch lightning. And, let me see, where is it? It's gonna be I don't want that, I want that. It's gonna be in my Facebook. I gotta get it in my Facebook. I caught a pretty cool lightning strike yesterday, shockingly. That doesn't always happen, but this did. Let's see if I can pull it up. Let me see if I can bigot it and share this page. That is my lightning strike last night. This little light right here is the parking light, so my camera was kind of up like that. But isn't that cool? Oh, I know you're getting hit right now. Oh, isn't that cool? That was cool. I saw that coming across the sky and I said, "Lord, let me get it." By the way, I got my mug. Product is looking good. We're waiting for the hat and the shirt. So we'll get there. I knew I forgot to do something this morning. I thought I was all that and bag of chips, and I forgot to do something this morning. Uh, forgot to do the national what day thing. What the hey? That's what? Wait a minute. Where did everything go? I hope I didn't just shut down the live. Did the live just go down? I hope not. Okay, no. Okay. We're gonna shut that one down. We're gonna leave that one. I don't know where my live went. Y'all, it disappeared. Oh, well, there I is. Okay. Ah, I see what happened. Okay, it switched screens. We're gonna close that down here. I'm learning how to go from desktop 1 to desktop 2. If you can well, I'll do this. So, watch my screens. That's desktop 1, and there's desktop 2. I was like, "What? Where did it go? I'm lost." I'll get us there, y'all. We'll get there, y'all. Okie dokie. And you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Oh, yeah, you know it is. You know it's gonna be super hot. You do. It always happens, especially when you're at the coast like you are, near the near bodies of water. It's gonna be hot. Oh, no. Oh, Gerald's daddy would love this, and I can't call him. It is. Can anybody guess what today is? There's several of them, but what I'm gonna use for today? Anybody know what today is? Oh, June 11th. Oh, my lord, y'all. Anybody guess what today is nationally? I'm trying to find a good picture. Trying to find a good picture. I think I like that one. I'm gonna copy image. Today is National Something Chocolate Day. Can you guess? I'm gonna give you a minute because I know you're behind where I am. Mm, y'all. Oh my gosh, y'all. Control B, Control B. It didn't take. Dag nabbit. Dag nabbit. That's no fun. Let me get back into it. Today, I should have made my. I have a special pie. Oh, by the way, y'all have not seen um The Help. You need to go see The Help. You need to see The Help. The movie The Help. It's funny as hell. It is so funny. Um, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting there. I have to make it. Um, oh, let me do that. There we go. What is your favorite cake? I'll ask that. What is your favorite cake? We'll go there. What is your favorite cake? There we go. All right, I got it. Yay! We did it. I'll get it posted. German chocolate cake day. You're right. Today is also day 30. Is it 30 or 31? 31 of the Karen Reed trial. Day 31 of the Karen Reed trial. And let me tell you what we're going to do. We are going to be doing the Karen Reed trial. And then, first thing after that, we will be going straight into the Lori Daybell from yesterday. By the way, I'm glad I did leave when I did yesterday because we did have a ton of weather. We've lost power, here and at the shop. I mean, at the shop and at home. And so, unfortunately, for well, fortunately, but unfortunately for y'all, I had to skedaddle. So we will catch up with the Lori Daybell trial today, in breaks, and then we will there we go. Sorry, it takes a minute to do this. People know it's a lot of work. It ain't easy doing this. Um, there we go. National German Chocolate Cake Day. And we're sharing. And we are still waiting. Okay. This is the day that the defense's final witness takes the stand. Hallelujah! We have gotten there, y'all. We've gotten there. We've been doing this for 31 days, and all but about 3 of those days have been prosecution. Go figure. And I find it interesting that, um sorry, I had thing on an alert. Um, the the prosecution gets all the time in the world, and the moment they get up, the defense gets up, Auntie Bev starts asking, "Not to pressure you or anything. It's all good, but how long are you gonna take? How many days are you gonna go?" I'm like, "I understand that the prosecution has more of a burden, and some people think they should get more time. Not me. I think it should be equal. If the defense needs 10 days, then they get 10 days. They need 30 days, they get 30 days. I mean, within reason. It's like you don't want the prosecution to go 5 days and you go 20 days. That's a little much. But anyway, so here is my new merch. In my humble opinion, it says it right down here in purple. I actually like the size of the mug. It's a 16-ounce mug. I think it's holding 14 with a bunch to go. So it is a 16-ounce mug. Let me refresh Facebook because it's giving me hail lately. It's not showing my lives. There we go. We are live. I don't know if anybody is watching. I can't edit. Okay. So, Miss June, how are you doing this morning? Where are my contents? There, the comments. They weren't showing. So, what is the original name? Oh, oh my gosh. I'm going to Google, but y'all, Baffanugan, you're horrible. The original name of the German chocolate cake is German chocolate cake. The cake was named after American baker Samuel Gurman. I'm sorry. Yep, German. Who developed a type of baking chocolate in 1850, which was then named German sweet chocolate. The recipe for German's chocolate cake appeared in Dallas Morning News in 1957 using this chocolate and the name German's chocolate cake. It was used over time. The possessive form of Germans was dropped, leading to the more common name German. So it had apostrophe S to it. Oh. I used to hate German chocolate cake. Um, Not a big fan of pecan. I like pecans in very small pieces. So if you make your German chocolate cake with smaller crushed German pecan, I'm all good. You put that whole pecan on the top, it's just too it's too bittery. I don't like I don't like sit there and eat a bunch of pecans. I'm not that kind of a gal. Neiman Marcus cake or cookies, grandma's lemon bars, exactly. Oh, no. Oh, that was old. There's an old document, I thought it were recent, but it was 6/9, not that old, that says, "It is ordered authorizing Maricopa County Sheriff Office to transport the defendant by any" why is it my "to transport the defendant by any means necessary, including force to secure attendance of the defendant for her trial on 6/9/2025 at 10 a.m." So that's what she was referring to. That's what she was referring to. And so, wow, when she said, "You're gonna force me to come into court, Lori Daybell," and he's all like, "Yep. Okay, let's go buy the bingo card." Sprinkle tidbits all you want, babe. All you want. Sprinkle away. We'll see what today holds in the Bev court of so we got methodology, ask your questions, sidebar, 25 miles an hour, data, judge, Judge Canone's chair twirl, ARCA, correct right motion, no broken bones, Karen SUV, no collision test dummies report, damage light, well back, well back, salty right arm injuries, in my humble opinion. I've already said it. You can mark it. Objection, not my question. Reverse speed. May I approach him? My question is. Yep, those are all amazing. June has been doing all of our bingo cards. So the bingo cards will go until verdict, and then we shall um draw a winner for a merch prize. By the way, yesterday was interesting because Brennan got up and he was getting ready to speak like he should and started using sorry, Brennan had put forth his motion. Jackson gets up and starts speaking, but he starts using Brennan's exact words against him. And Brennan stands up and basically tells him to shut up. By the way, the other day we were talking, and Adelson, Donna Adelson, came up that she was released from the jail. Well, she was. The defendant, Donna Adelson, you are hereby released with the release type stated above from the Leon County Jail blank of the circuit court. And she was released with detainer, which means she was being moved. I, Donald Asen, do by here state that I will be in court at above date and time to answer the charges. Case number, blah, 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 Redrum, first degree. Case number, blah, 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 conspiracy to commit first degree Redrum. Case number, blah, 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 soliciting to commit first degree Redrum. In accordance with American Disabilities Act, person needing special accommodations to participate in the proceedings should contact the ADA coordinator. Yay! See, that's what I ought to be doing. ADA coordinator for my county. So that was, what she was released to another jail for. Oh my lord. So anyway, the things in California. Okay, guys, I know y'all wanted me to cover that. I don't want to cover it. You know, this poor person in a truck with horses and a horse trailer. It's just minding their own business, trying to get through, and the crowd attacks the vehicle, and apparently a person accidentally by the trailer gets run over. Well, the woman charged the pickup with the crowd of people. They're banging on the glass, they're hitting on it. They were attacking the vehicle and the trailer with the horses in it.
Do not do that today.
Got the truck. She's walking in front of the truck. She's in front of the truck. Her head is below the front of the truck, and they did not know, and she got ran over. And now they're looking at her for running over. Like, what woman literally, like, here's a pickup, here's a trailer. She is in front. Her head's down here. She is in front, and the vehicle's moving, and she's running with it with her back to the front of the vehicle like she's going to stop this truck. Her and another guy. And she gets run over. She put herself in that freaking position. I don't get it. Wait a minute. Why don't I just share this? I'm going to share this. I don't understand it. I need somebody to help me. Hold on. I'm trying to get this thing to close and move. I can share it. I forgot. I have this. Okay, guys, look at this and tell me. Look at what she's doing. Now, she's pretty low. You may not be able to see, but look at this guy. Why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in that position when someone is just trying to get through town? Watch this. I think it's a horse trailer. Wait, she moved out of the way. Oh, she fell. She's not under it. She fell. Okay. But she was in front of it. I think that's a horse trailer. Is that a oh no, that's a mobile home. Okay, my bad. But anyway, why would you do that? And now everybody's all over her concerned. I'm like, why would you do that? Yes. If I'm in a situation where I have people attacking my vehicle just because I'm trying to get the hell out of Dodge, and a group of people attacks me, then I'm out. I'm not going to stop for you. I know that sounds bad. But anyway, I just don't want to deal with all that.
Hearing all persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Kennedy, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. I state the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now open. You may be seated.
All right. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, Judge.
I'm not getting into the political fight. I haven't purposefully have not paid attention. I just can't. But what I am saying is when you put yourself in a position like that woman is to be stupid and be in front of a vehicle running with it like she was, and you fall, that's on you, boo.
I have to ask you those same 3 questions.
I already have the name up here. I think that's who's up. I could be wrong. Let me take it down. I'm just checking my
Dr.
my
Armand, you're
stat.
still under oath.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your
Yes,
Honor.
he is. Who is this? Dr. Levin.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready. Are you ready, Doctor?
I am, yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
snap.
you, Your Honor.
Here we
Dr.
go,
Retrial,
y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday, when we last left off, we were discussing materials that you had been provided to review, and you described much of that material in furtherance of your answer that you were asked to review certain data and undertake certain testing as it relates to testing that was done by Aperture, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Did you prepare a PowerPoint presentation to illustrate the analysis and methodology in your review and testing of this case?
I did, yes, sir.
Did you bring that with you today?
I did indeed.
Your Honor, I have a flash drive I'd like to have marked as next in order.
Okay. Is there an objection?
Not for identification.
Okay, so it's marked for identification.
That'll be KK for ID.
Let me know whenever, pardon me, let me know whenever you're ready, Dr. Retrial.
Sure, you want me to bring up the PowerPoint?
If you could bring up the first slide, let's start with
Sure.
that.
Let's see here. There we go.
Is this representative of the PowerPoint that you presented, or sorry, that you prepared for presentation for the jurors?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay. Are there several blank slides, just sort of placeholder slides as we walk through your analysis that the jurors will see?
There are, yes.
Okay. Let's talk about first of all, what was the purpose of your investigation? What did you seek to undertake?
So the purpose of my investigation in this matter was to evaluate the evidence, and particularly as it pertains to the alleged theory of what occurred in this case.
All right, so I'm going to
Really?
strike that answer. Ask the question again.
Sure. Did you
Okay,
seek...
you want me to ask it again? But you didn't say ask it differently. Just saying. I'm
to
literal.
undertake an analysis of Aperture's testing or part of their testing?
I did, yes, sir.
All right. With regard to that testing, what was the reason that you undertook to analyze Aperture's testing?
Sustained.
Ultimately, were you in receipt of a PowerPoint presentation and a report from Dr. Judson Welcher?
I was, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to review that PowerPoint presentation in whole?
I did, yes.
Were you able to look at his report and read his report and review his report?
I was, yes, sir.
Did you undertake an analysis based on his reporting and his PowerPoint presentation?
Yes.
So I'm going to see you both at sidebar for just a minute, please.
Of course you do. Why do we have to go to sidebar? Sidebar. Every time we have to go to sidebar is ridiculous. I got a new weather bug. By the way, y'all don't know this. I have not been chasing for a couple years, actively storm chasing. This girl is back in the chase. I'm a part of the Texas Vortex storm chasing team. Absolutely miss going out in the storm. I don't break hail core. I don't do the crazy stuff. I do the photography end of it. All that good stuff. Yay. Okay. I said locate me. There he is. I'm gonna log into my account because I upgraded. So I was out there last night having a blast. hanging with the crew. I have a question, and it's and this could be not to be political, but I mean not to start a um disagreement, but we had a question and we were like all over the page with the answers. So while we're waiting for them, let me ask you guys a question. Is it inappropriate for me, a non-married woman, to be in the presence of married men unsupervised? Yeah, you heard me say that word. Supervised. One or two men in public, nothing hidden. Is it inappropriate to be in today's day and age now? Back 30 years ago, oh, I know what that answer would be. But I'm I'm I just find it interesting because somebody got upset because I, first of all, have a friend of mine, you've heard me mention him, Herbie. Known him for 10 years. We have gone every hurricane together back when we were with the Red Cross. We deployed together. His wife and I are friendly. She knows me. I know her. She's okay with me. Um, everything's great. And then also storm chasers who were married. And it's always in public places. It's not like we get up and we just say, "Hey, you want to go have dinner and a movie?" No, not in that context. But
May I?
Yes.
Did you undertake to review
Exactly.
analysis and testing that was done by Aperture as reflected in the PowerPoint that you reviewed, as well as the report that you received?
I did, yes.
Did ARCA, yourself included, undertake testing based on your review of the testing by Aperture?
We did, yes, sir.
Okay. Tell me.
okay, I'm going to pause it here. Ronnie, it's in an environment of providing service like firefighting, first responding, Red Cross, storm chasing, all of that kind of stuff. It's not like I'm going over to their house when their wife is away and we're hanging out watching TV, kicking it back. No, now that I wouldn't do. But I'm talking, Ronnie, like safety. When I'm storm chasing, not only am I photographing, but we're providing safety information to the weather service. And if we see a rotation that's not yet been caught on radar or whatever. So it was all about that kind of thing. And public, and they know, their spouse knows that we are together. They're notified and they're okay. Just a question. I'm kind of old school, but it's a service.
What was the biomechanical analysis? That's the second point on your PowerPoint. What was the biomechanical analysis that was undertaken after you reviewed the Aperture reports and Aperture testing? What did you undertake to do?
So I touched on this yesterday a little bit. A biomechanical analysis, there's certain steps that you have to do to actually perform a biomechanical analysis. First of all, you have to determine what the injuries are. What are the diagnosed injuries? Second, you have to determine what happened to the individual. So in this case, what would have happened to Mr. O'Keefe? His kinematics, how would his body move? Was it contacted by anything? Was it contacted by the Lexus? If so, what forces were produced on the arm, on his body? Were they sufficient to cause the injuries that he sustained? And in this case, it's a little more involved. We have, was he hit by the car? What happened after that? Did he somehow move into the yard? And then did something happen in the yard to actually cause the skull fracture? So in order to determine if that's what actually occurred in this case, you have to look at each of those three separate events. And you have to evaluate that from a biomechanical analysis by looking at the force, looking at the kinematics, looking at a human tolerance, and determining or attempting to determine what happened. Now, if you try to determine what happened, not only do you have to prove that that was the case and the facts support that that's what occurred, you also have to eliminate all other possibilities. Because if you're saying this is how it happened, not only do you have to show that that's true.
So next question, and I'm going to strike that. Next question?
Is there an element of differential diagnosis that goes into biomechanical analysis?
There is, absolutely.
Explain that for us, please.
Let me demonstrate. So there are several peer-reviewed articles that I reference.
Is this slide number 2, by the way?
This is slide number 2.
Thank you.
Correct. This is injury reconstruction biomechanical analysis of accidental injury. And that sets forth the methodology that I just described. It's well written about, well reviewed in peer-reviewed articles. This is the method you need. If you're going to opine on biomechanics, this is the method you need to do, the steps you need to go through in order to provide an actual opinion.
And describe that method just a little bit further. Does that include testing?
That includes testing.
Does that include both lab testing and field testing if it's possible?
Absolutely, yes.
Explain that.
In fact, let me explain. Let me get through here. I just had a couple examples here. This third slide, another reference about biomechanical analysis. Again, it's all throughout the literature, very well established how to do this. Now, it's all based on the scientific method, okay? And the scientific method, which it was really established back in the 1620s, but this tells you how to do a proper scientific analysis. So you have an observation, you observe something. So in this case, you might say, all right, there's superficial abrasions to Mr. Keefe's arm, and there's a shattered taillight. Are those two things related? Well, the first thing you do is you research the topic area. You look through the literature, you find or look for any examples of that happening. You see if there's any reports or peer-reviewed articles written about this very occurrence. Can you actually demonstrate that if your arm hit the taillight would shatter and cause those abrasions? If this occurs or is a common occurrence, it should be in the literature. You should be able to find information about it. Then you form a hypothesis. Either you say, I think this injury is related to hitting the taillight, or it's not. Whichever one you choose, that's where you then start to go into your experimentation. You have to develop tests to get data to actually back up your hypotheses. So if I said, well, I think the injury is related to it, what would you do? You would go and you would test it. You would get an arm. In this case, we got a hybrid 3 dummy arm, and we got an exemplar vehicle, and we hit the vehicle with the arm. Or we hit the arm with the vehicle, we ran into it, to determine what's going to happen when that occurs. Do we get the right circumstances, the right loading to actually occur in that case? So and then you go back and you analyze that. And if your results don't match up with your hypothesis, you have to reevaluate. You have to go back and see. If we don't get that type of injury, if we don't get the kinematics or the force associated with what we see, you have to reevaluate if your hypothesis or what you think happened is actually true or not. So you have to continuously go through this process. And that's what experts do. That's how you perform an analysis. And that's what's important. I have 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old who's actually.
So I'm going to ask you to wait for the next question.
Okay, sure.
Was there an example that you could use of sort of a real-world example that you might want to use to explain some or part of the scientific method?
There is, yeah. And I would like to explain an example of what's important with that. So I was going to say I have 3 kids, a 9-year-old who's actually turning 10 today. Happy birthday, Kai. And I have 2 older ones.
I'm surprised you didn't object.
We're going to stop this. Another example.
Go ahead. Less editorializing.
Minus all the
Inappropriate.
I'm sorry, Your Honors.
Go ahead.
Details matter, okay? Details in an investigation matter, and details matter here. You need details. You have to explain how things happen, okay? As an expert, I can't come in and just say.
Sustain. It needs to be more question and answer.
Why do details matter?
Because Your opinions have to be based on the facts and the evidence.
Why
of
is
the
that?
case. Because that's what determines your conclusions. I can't come in and say, I think,
Next question.
What if you don't have all the details and facts?
if you don't have details, if you haven't performed a proper analysis, then you can't come to a conclusion that something happened. You can't depend just on your experience. You have to have the analysis, the evidence, and the details to come to a conclusion in a case.
How do you best get details to come to a conclusion in a case?
You need research, you need peer-reviewed articles, you need evidence, you perform testing. You have to demonstrate what you think happened is A, possible, and B, actually did occur. And in order to do that, you need hard evidence to demonstrate.
This is good. We'll get past the kids and happy birthday Kai and all of his I'm on live national TV. Crap. That last comment was very good.
That that's what actually occurred in this case.
Do you get that through both lab testing and field testing?
The form. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Can you
Oh,
get
come
that
on.
in lab testing?
Absolutely.
Can you get that in field testing?
You can get that in field testing as well, yes.
Are those integral to an analysis?
They are. If you don't have any other evidence, if you don't have research, if you don't have peer-reviewed articles showing or demonstrating what happens, you have to formulate, you have to get that evidence. And the way to do that is through field testing, if you have no other evidence and no other source of information to provide that type of evidence.
Let's go to the next slide. Did you undertake, and this is a placeholder, did
Yes.
you undertake the scientific method in this case?
I did, yes.
What was the hypothesis of the incident that you utilized in furthering your analysis?
So the first step, the first part of this event is contact between Mr. O'Keefe's arm and the vehicle.
Could you describe for the jurors what hypothesis you used based on your review of the information you got from Aperture?
Sure. So the hypothesis that I looked at, Aperture, their testing and report indicates that Mr. O'Keefe had his arm out at a 90-degree angle.
Sustained.
What do you see? By the way, where are these from? These two slides.
These two slides are from the PowerPoint presentation that Aperture provided.
All right. So you didn't create these?
I did not, no, sir.
Describe the angle of the arm in the left photograph with the drinking glass in the hand.
So the angle of that arm is approximately 90 degrees. The other photographs in the PowerPoint demonstrate that for someone the same height as Mr. O'Keefe, the arm would be about 90 degrees with an individual standing erect. That's what was demonstrated in their PowerPoint.
Do you note anything in their PowerPoint, the Aperture PowerPoint, related to the clothing worn in that left photograph?
Yes, they have the surrogates wearing a hoodie or a sweatshirt, which is the exact same type and brand that Mr. O'Keefe was found wearing at the time of the incident.
Did that play a part in your overall analysis, the fact that the individual, the surrogate, as you use the name, was adorned with the same type of sweatshirt that was found on Mr. O'Keefe?
It did, yes. I mean, that's one of the details that we have to look at. Details matter, so we look at the clothing that was worn and the evidence found with respect to that actual sweatshirt.
I'd like to stay with that for a second. Why is that important? Why would the clothing matter?
Well, because that tells us, that gives us evidence of what may or may not have occurred. Mr. O'Keefe was wearing this sweatshirt when the time of this alleged incident occurred. So if there is contact between his sweatshirt and that rear vehicle, the taillight from the Lexus, there would likely be evidence of that. And we have to look at that sweatshirt to see the condition of that sweatshirt, if there's evidence on that sweatshirt, and be able to pair that or match that up to with what happened on the vehicle.
Is that part of a normal biomechanical analysis to evaluate clothing of the body as well?
Absolutely, especially when you look at automobile pedestrian impacts.
Why?
Because clothing tells you or can tell you how the impact occurred, where contact occurred between an individual and the vehicle, what part of the vehicle, what part of the individual. So it either may or it may not, but it can give you very important clues about what may have occurred during the incident.
Is that part of the normal methodology that's utilized in the field of biomechanical analysis, especially as it relates to pedestrian motor vehicle incidents?
It absolutely is, yes. Look at the damage to the clothing. Look if you compare it up to the vehicle, to the ground, to other sources. It's another tool, another detail, and part of the evidence that allows you to try and determine what occurred.
Do you have experience in reviewing clothing of individuals that may have been involved in vehicle pedestrian incidents?
I do, yes.
How often has that played a part in your biomechanical analysis and the methodology that you employ?
It happens quite often when we look at automobile pedestrian impacts. That's really one of the steps that you need to do. You need to look at the clothing, you need to look at that evidence and see if that matches up with any other evidence in the case.
Would it be a proper methodology to just ignore the clothing in a vehicle pedestrian incident?
Look at your
It
bingo
would
card.
be, yes. I mean, it's really one of the first things you should do. If
I'm
you-
sorry, my question was, would it be proper if you just wholly ignored it?
No, it would be improper. It would not be proper. It would be improper if you just ignored it.
Getting back to the slide at hand, and we're on slide, just to stay coordinated, is this slide 7?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. You've talked about the left photograph. What is the right, the short video?
So this short video is what I refer to as the paint transfer test that was performed by Aperture. And what they did was take a surrogate the same approximate height and weight as Mr. O'Keefe and had him stand behind a subject, an exemplar Lexus, the same year, make, and model. And they put paint on the rear taillight cover on the fender, and then they backed it in to the surrogate's arm. And the reason for this is they attempted to show that where the paint contacts the arm, that it's the same area where the superficial abrasions were on Mr. O'Keefe's arm.
Did you utilize these photographs and videos from the Aperture report in conducting and building the field testing and or the lab testing that you ultimately undertook?
I did, yes, sir.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What's depicted in this slide?
So this is from the Aperture report, and the third conclusion is that the location and orientation of the lacerations on John O'Keefe's right forearm and arm are consistent with the geometry and the orientation of the right taillight on the Reed 2021 Lexus LX57.
How did you interpret the phrase geometry?
To me, geometry just means shape. So the way I interpreted this is the one test that was performed with respect to the taillight. This is the only test I saw that Aperture performed involving the taillight and the arm, is that with this paint transfer test, they concluded that, again, the area where the paint was transferred onto the arm is consistent, the same shape and orientation as apparently the lacerations found on Mr. O'Keefe's forearm.
Did this test, in your opinion, establish force multipliers that were exerted on the taillight?
It has nothing to do with force. It doesn't describe the force exerted on the taillight or on the arm. It doesn't describe how the arm would have moved as it hit the taillight. It doesn't describe how the taillight would fracture. It doesn't describe how you would actually get the lacerations on the arm. Again, all this does is generally, and I made an error there. This report, and you can see the slide says laceration. Mr. O'Keefe did not have lacerations on his arm.
What did he have?
He was diagnosed with superficial abrasions.
Is there a difference between a laceration and an abrasion?
There's a distinct difference, both biomechanically and medically, yes.
Is that an important distinction?
That is.
Why?
The first step of the biomechanical analysis is identify the injuries, and you have to take the diagnosed injuries identified by a medical doctor. So it's superficial abrasions. To put lacerations on, that's simply incorrect.
So I strike the end of that.
Would you describe the injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's arm as lacerations?
No,
Would they be more properly described in another way?
it would be, yes.
What's that other way?
So they've been diagnosed as superficial abrasions. An abrasion occurs when there's rubbing or scraping of the skin, and it just rubs away the top layer, the epidermis of the skin. Now, a laceration is a jagged ripping or tearing of the skin, which gets down through the epidermis into the dermis. So abrasions take much less force, they're less severe than what a laceration actually is.
In a biomechanical analysis, if it's done properly, is it is it important to get the proper injury to the body as a foundation to the entire analysis?
That's core to the analysis because you're trying to determine how an injury occurred. You have to know what that injury is. You have to have.
Okay, Aaron, you are so smart. You're so right. We're going to take a quick break. Welcome, beloved Diane. Hello.
Morning.
Abrasions are caused by friction. Lacerations are caused by cutting. You can get both because there may be something that's causing the friction then cause a cut as well. Bingo card. This is what I got so far. Methodology and sidebar. Correct or right? Arca. Her chair's been swiveled. In my humble opinion. Right arm injury. Objection. If I missed anything, let me know. Diane, are you good?
I am good.
By the way, girlfriend, we had some good storms.
Oh, that is why I was not on yesterday. All day. All day. Storms. Terrible, terrible here. So I just kind of sit and watched them.
Well, that's my picture.
Wow. Yeah. Kind of. I could have
The
taken.
lightning wasn't that great, but that was a good shot.
Oh, you couldn't even see through the rain here. It was like a heavy sheet. Just.
Oh, that was before the rain started. We had a night's a little electrical storm well before the rain started.
So I just.
Yep. But when that rain hit, it was like, I'm done.
And it was all day. All
Well,
day.
that's good. We all need the rain.
Yeah.
We're in a drought.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the rain comes, it comes like a wall, and then it separates when it gets to Kerrville, and then it joins back up and goes to San Antonio.
That's
I'm
what
like,
happened in
please.
Arizona. You can put your hand through it.
Okay, I need to address something real quick. We were talking about a certain person showed up where I was storm watching. I was with other people and they left, and I was sitting waiting for my son to bring his car because we put it there so it wouldn't get hail damage. And he drove by. He just did a drive by. I was the only one up on the upper level. There was no reason for him to do that. And creepy much, but I will say I took him there because when we get hail, everybody in that area doesn't want their car damaged. We'll try to cram hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in a 3.5 floor parking garage. We call it a 3+ and level parking garage. And it's the only place in town to get away.
Wow.
And so anyway, long story short, that's where he's been camping out for the last 5 nights. And he's in a pickup and everything he owns is in the back of that thing and it's exposed. So I understand his desire to get in there to keep his stuff safe, but to drive up, look for me and do a drive-by was creepy.
I'm quite sure it was.
Oh, that's okay. This girl's got her lead shooters. I had my, even though I wasn't the crew, the people I was with, the dad fell and they had to go help pick him up. They knew exactly where I was. When we are on a storm chasing team like I am, you always have your map, your 360. They always know where you are. So
Yeah.
all is good.
Well, good. You have a support system and they know where you are.
And my son knows. Yeah. We all know. Everybody knows where everybody is. So we're good to go. We already got a bingo. Congratulations. These incised wounds are caused by a sharp force. Object lacerations are caused by a blunt force. Yep. I just tell people that abrasions are more like a skinned knee and lacerations are like when you cut your finger with a knife.
The correct injury to be able to evaluate it.
Let's go to the next slide.
Not medically, but it worked.
This is a placeholder. I want to ask you a little bit while this is up. We can turn the lights up. First step in the analysis. What is the first step of the analysis after you determine the injuries, the type of injury?
So in this step, after you determine the injury, what we want to do is we want to look at the physical evidence. So we have the abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's arm, and we have the sweatshirt that he was wearing at the time. So the first step in any investigation is to
I'm feeling hung jury.
determine, does the evidence from the arm match up to the evidence on the sweatshirt?
Did you undertake that analysis?
I did, yes.
Is that indicated in a slide a little bit later on in your PowerPoint?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide, please. What are we looking at in this slide?
So this explains the injuries. And this is from on the left side, that is the diagnoses from the autopsy. The right side is from the hospital. And you can see it says blunt impact injuries of head and extremities, abrasions and lacerations. The laceration is on the back of the skull, on the back of the head where the occipital skull fracture is. When you look at the extremities, everywhere where it talks about the extremities, it's superficial abrasions. So
Fair and
the first
equal.
step in a biomechanical analysis, you review the medical records, determine exactly what the injuries are. And you can see there's a picture of the actual abrasions. Those are the documented injuries or abrasions to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm.
Are these acceptable sources? Well, let me ask you this. What are the sources that are reflected on this slide that you referred to or you relied on in coming to your opinions and conclusions regarding Mr. O'Keefe's injuries to his right arm?
Again, on the left side is from the autopsy report from the medical examiner, and then the right side is actually from the Good Samaritan hospital where Mr. O'Keefe was taken.
Are autopsy records, hospital records, medical records acceptable sources for a biomechanist to rely on in determining or coming to opinions and conclusions?
They are the sources you go to determine what the injuries are. Yes.
Did you see, you reviewed the entirety of the medical records as well as the entirety of the medical examiner's file, is that right?
I did, yes, sir.
Did you see reference to any fractures that were noted on Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, either his arm, his forearm, or his hand?
No, there were no diagnosed or references to fractures on any part of his right arm or hand.
I'm going to ask Mr. Wolk to display a couple of exhibits, the x-rays.
Okay.
So he's going to take over the TV screen.
Sure.
If that's okay, Your Honor?
Yes.
So this is Mr. Wolf, not oh. Dagnabbit. Okay, I need you to take over for a minute.
Rich yellow. Yellow. Yellow.
Daniel Wolf? I don't know which one this is.
This is a man.
This is an exhibit that was marked yesterday. I want to say 226. I may be wrong, Your Honor. I'll get the right nomenclature in just a second. This is one of the exhibits, one of three exhibits that was introduced yesterday. Do you
Well, that's
recognize
Dr.
what's
Rutcher. I
Yes.
was correct. He
That's
called him
the
Mr. Wolf.
X-ray of Mr. O'Keefe's right hand taken January 31st, I believe.
Did you
Good.
review this in furtherance of your analysis?
I did, yes, sir.
Was it part of the medical record, medical records or in these records?
It was a series of the X-rays, yes, was attached. It was part of the medical records that were provided to me and that I reviewed in this matter.
Thank you. Just for the record, so I can clarify, this is Exhibit 229A, as an apple.
That record?
Do you see,
File?
have you looked at X-rays before?
I have, yes.
Have you interpreted X-rays in furtherance of your analyses in years past?
I have during my biomechanical analysis, yes.
Are you trained to look at X-rays and determine whether there are fractures, hairline fractures, broken bones, things of that nature?
I've been doing this for 20 years. In graduate school, I worked with surgeons and doctors to look at x-rays.
Is that part of the normal methodology that biomechanists undertake in furtherance of injury analysis?
It is part of what we normally do, yes, sir.
Would it be an important part of a biomechanist's ultimate analysis and conclusions as it relates to an injury analysis?
It would be, and especially in this case, if we're talking about impact to the arm and the hand, very important to determine, as I said, not only what the actual injuries are, but what injuries did not occur.
Would it be appropriate to come to any opinions and conclusions in an injury analysis if you were to ignore x-rays, if they existed?
No, if x-rays exist, you need to review them. You need to determine what they represent and what injuries either did or didn't occur. You absolutely need to look at them.
Do you see any injuries represented or any defects represented in this x-ray of Mr. O'Keefe's right hand?
I do not, no, sir.
Can you describe what you do see or what you would expect to see if there were injuries, broken bones, torn ligaments, things of that nature, swelling? What would you expect to see?
You could actually see the fracture lines on the bones. They are evident along the hands or along the ulna and the radius. Any dislocations you see, there would be a difference in the space at the joints between the bones. Dislocation, then there would be increased space or even a decreased space if there's compression of the joints, the interphalangeal joints, the metacarpophalangeal joints, the wrist joint. There's no indication on these x-rays of any fractures or any trauma or any type of injury to the bones or the joints.
Can we go to 229B as in Bravo with the court's permission?
Yes.
Do you see what's depicted in this photograph?
I can, yes, sir.
What is this?
So this is a x-ray. The forearm shows the ulna and the radius, which are the two bones in the forearm.
Do you see any defects, injury, trauma to these bones or anything associated with those bones?
I do not. And when you're viewing this on the software to look at the x-rays, you can actually adjust the contrast. So you can adjust the brightness and the darkness, and it allows you to go through the whole range to better evaluate whether there are any fractures. This is a little bright, so when you're looking at this, you would actually decrease the contrast a little bit.
In terms of your review of this particular photograph, what did you note in terms of trauma or injuries at all?
I did not note any indication or any signs of trauma or injury to the forearm or to the wrist in this case.
If we could go to 229C as in Charlie, what are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the right humerus, the right upper bone of Mr. O'Keefe's right arm.
Do you notice, or did you note, did you review this in furtherance of your analysis?
I did, yes, sir.
Did you note any defects, trauma, injuries at all with regard to the bone is the
humerus.
The humerus?
I did not, no, sir.
What about the joints associated with the humerus, top or bottom?
I did not note any injuries or damage to either the elbow or the shoulder joint either.
What is your opinion and conclusion, having reviewed all three of these x-rays, with regard to the condition of Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, starting from the arm, the forearm, and the bones in the hand?
There's no indication of any type of acute injury from the x-ray to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm, either his hand, his forearm, or his upper arm.
Thank you. We can switch that back.
Okay. Good
If we
morning,
go back
one
to the
sunny day.
PowerPoint. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Now, I shouldn't be wearing this hat interpreting, but oh well.
Maybe.
Is it too distracting?
Let me see if I can start back on it here. Okay, there we go.
What are we looking at in this slide?
So again, this is the hoodie or sweatshirt that Mr. O'Keefe had on at the time of this alleged incident.
Did you consider these photographs in conducting your injury causation analysis?
I did, yes, sir.
What role did these photographs of Mr. O'Keefe's hoodie play in your injury causation analysis?
So this shows the hoodie, and it was inspected by the police department, and it was noted, as you can see on the right sleeve by the triangles, there were 9 different punctures or holes noted in the sleeve of the sweatshirt.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What are we looking at in these series of photos?
So let's move to sidebar for a minute and Mr. Jackson, bring your PowerPoint.
Sidebar.
Sidebar.
Sidebar. Love your voice, Gabby. I really do. How you doing, Miss Diane?
Doing all right. Doing okay. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm very tired. I had maybe 3 hours sleep. That storm was so visually bright and startling. It's hard to sleep.
My poor doggie, she hates storms. I know when a storm is coming so quickly. Why?
Hold on. No case one. Find the link, pop it in chat, and I'll watch it. We'll critique. Sometimes they're really good. Sometimes,
Sometimes they're really bad.
and they worry about me interpreting.
My dog, she starts shaking an hour before a storm. And I know a storm's coming because the barometric pressure changes, and she is so sensitive. Somebody couldn't spell chocolate. CHOC, chocolate day. See, holate day.
Oh,
What are you in about?
I'm frustrated because Facebook is no longer. I can see my live for today, but I don't know if anybody else can because I've lost my Facebook audience and it's frustrating.
That's sad.
And I can make my lives live after the fact. I can edit them, make them public, and I'm good. But I can't, I couldn't, before I could make it public while I was live. I don't know why the rules have changed. I don't know.
Don't you ask them?
So if anybody can go over and see me, you may have to scroll down because even in my live, I have one that's always on top and I don't know why. Frustrating. But this live, I don't know unless they're trying to get me to level up. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying.
What's level up?
Hey, I can create polls and do all that kind of stuff. But it won't let me. It won't let me do anything. Live tab. You mean to tell me I got to come in here and do a live tab? Is there a live tab? I don't even see a live tab. I don't know.
Oh, that's just not good.
Look again now. I just copied the live tab and pasted it into my thing. See if you can see me again. Please. I don't understand what Facebook is doing. I need help, y'all. Yeah, no. Being on the jury for this case is not fun. Oh, I forgot I can Zoom. Are you kidding? I Zoom 15 minutes and are just now
Jurors, I
coming back.
apologize that took so long, but it was necessary to do rather than sending you out. So,
Oh, now
Sure.
you don't want to send them out. Okay, Miss Diane, we're ready.
thank you.
You ready? You ready,
Yeah,
Freddie?
yeah.
That woman can sign with one hand and text with another. Go figure.
Nice.
Okay.
Dr. Richler, my eyes aren't good enough to see the upper right-hand corner. What slide number is this? That's
Number
on-
12.
Number 12, thank you. Did you look at these photographs and consider these photographs in furtherance of your ultimate conclusion?
I did, yes, sir.
Can we move to slide 13, please? Did you also look at and consider these photographs in coming to your ultimate conclusion?
I did, yes.
We'll move to
Conclusion.
slide 14,
Decisions.
please. Did you look at and consider these photographs in coming to your conclusions and opinions
I
regarding
did.
this case?
Yes, sir.
Can you move from slide 14 over to slide 18, please?
Can I switch through real quick?
Sure.
Yep. So we 18.
Let's go to 18. What are we looking at in slide 18?
So this is Mr. O'Keefe's right arm at autopsy, and they're holding up a ruler to demonstrate the size and dimensions of the abrasions.
And what are the yellow indicators?
Those are indicators I added based on the length of the ruler to show the approximate size, length, and width of those abrasions.
Was it important in your biomechanical analysis to measure and denote all the injuries?
It was, yes.
Did you actually count the number of injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's arm?
I did, yes.
How many injuries did he have? How many distinct and separate injuries did Mr. O'Keefe's arm present?
Conservatively, I counted 36 different superficial abrasions on his right arm.
And did you go through all the photographs in an effort to count and distinguish one abrasion and one defect on his skin from another?
I did, yes, sir.
And you said conservatively 36 separate abrasions, correct?
That's
And he's been
correct.
What does
conservatively.
that mean in terms of the mechanism
Nope.
that you would expect to cause that abrasion?
Well, you need 36 different points of contact to get through the sweatshirt and get to the skin to actually cause abrasion to the skin. 36 different separate points of contact to the skin.
How many defects, remind us, how many defects were noted by the crime lab in Mr. O'Keefe's right sleeve?
9 defects.
Can you scroll to slide 22 quickly, please?
Defect, damage,
Damage.
What is this?
destroyed, damage.
This is a slide, again, from Aperture from their PowerPoint. It's the only slide, the only photo, the only indication of the hoodie that I found in their analysis. And it also has pictures showing, looks like they try to line up the top of that taillight cover.
Sustained.
Do you see there's some sort of marking on that lower left photograph with some yellow lines?
I do, yes.
How did you analyze that marking?
I analyzed that. It goes through the part of the taillight cover and then goes through part of the upper arm of the surrogate.
And there's a parallel line to it a little bit in a V shape. There's a parallel line below it. How did you analyze that line?
I analyzed that as apparently showing that the area of the taillight.
So not apparently, what did you
How did you
analyze?
interpret
Sure.
that?
I interpreted that represents that area of the taillight corresponds to the area of the upper arm.
And there's a red dotted line around the tail light, correct?
Correct.
How did you interpret what that represents?
That was the part of the taillight that fractured.
Did you put any of these lines on there, or are these all from aperture?
These are all from aperture. I did not put any of those on there.
You see the small, it's horizontal, I'm sorry, it's vertical photograph of Mr. O'Keefe's arm?
I do, yes.
Did you note anywhere in the aperture report a denotation of the number of abrasions, counting the number of abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's arm?
There's no denotation, no indication that the number of abrasions were ever counted. No, sir.
Ultimately, based on your review of all of your testing, did you come to an opinion or a conclusion as to whether or not the abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's arm are consistent with striking the right rear taillight of the Lexus?
I did, yes.
And what is that conclusion?
That they're inconsistent with striking the taillight or being produced as a result of contact with the taillight.
Why did you come to that conclusion?
There's a number of reasons that I came to. First of all, the abrasions, the numbers don't correspond to the number of holes or.
Sustained.
Did you consider, without counting the number of abrasions and the number of holes, did you consider the abrasions?
I did, yes.
Did you consider the sweatshirt?
I did.
Was that an important part of your analysis?
It was, yes.
What else did you consider?
I considered that it was not possible to line up 36 different abrasions with
So I'm going to strike that answer, ask it differently.
Your Honor, if he could finish his answer. He was about to say contact with the taillight.
Yep, so ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Sure. What did the 36 abrasions, conservatively, and their interaction with the taillight have to do with your ultimate opinion and conclusion?
Well, that you have to, if those abrasions came from contact with the taillight, you have to be able to correlate them and line them up with contact, 36 different contacts from the taillight.
And ultimately, based on your understanding of Aperture's review and the photographs that you saw, you were presuming, based on Aperture's testing, that Mr. O'Keefe was wearing that hoodie. Is that correct?
Sustained.
What was the condition? Let me ask it this way. There's a photograph in the Aperture report that we're looking at with blue paint on an arm, right?
Correct.
Is that your understanding, or did you test that Mr. O'Keefe could have been hit wearing short sleeves?
No.
What did you test? What was your presumption and assumption in your testing?
That he was wearing the hoodie that was found on him at the time,
With the 9 holes in the right sleeve.
with the 9 holes in the right sleeve.
Watch the form of the question, Mr. Jackson.
Sure. Let's go to the next slide, please.
Really? Please.
What is this?
Salty mud?
These are, the top two and bottom right slide are from the Aperture PowerPoint.
How did you interpret the the 2 photographs on the right, the parallel lines and the red lines in that slide?
The parallel lines correspond to an area of the fractured tail light, and then the red dotted line corresponds to an area of abrasions on Mr. O'Keefe's upper arm, and there's a red arrow pointing to part of the fractured tail light.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What are we looking at in this slide?
Again, this is the paint test. This is the only test that was conducted by Aperture to look at the tail light and the arm in this case, and the interaction between the two.
Did you note whether in all of Aperture's data
Look how he's rolling. He's controlling it. A hit would not be controlled.
that you reviewed, whether or not there was any measurements to determine whether the abrasions were consistent with contact with the Lexus?
I did. There were no measurements at all taken with respect to that test. No measurements with respect to where the contact happened on the car. or on the arm itself. There was no indication of where that blue paint extended on the surrogate's arm, say from the wrist up to where the laceration or the abrasions would have occurred.
Is that important?
That's very important,
Why?
because you can't say that the area where the blue paint is corresponds to the area of the abrasions if you don't take measurements. If you just eyeball it, all you can say is by eyeballing it, it looks approximately the same. But that's not scientific. You can't come to an actual conclusion that where that paint covers the arm is where those abrasions actually were. They could lie outside, they could lie forward, they could lie above that painted area. You can't say with any scientific certainty that that area of paint corresponds to where the abrasions are.
In this motion video and the still photograph to the left in slide 24, is that what we're on, 24?
We are, yes, sir.
What did you note with regard to the positioning of the surrogate's arm? I think that's Mr. Welcher. As it relates to the taillight and the back of the SUV.
Yes, the positioning of the arm in the photographs as well as the one test that was performed, the arm is approximately 90 degrees, level in line with the rear taillight of the vehicle.
Did you seek to do any testing approximating the positioning of the arm as you saw it, as you interpreted it in the aperture data?
I did, yes, sir.
What were you seeking to determine when you did your testing?
Well, if we want to determine whether the orientation and the position of the abrasions on the arm correspond to the tail light, you have to have the arm in the position that you claim it struck the tail light and then look at the abrasions. Because if you're looking at orientation and the direction of the abrasions, you can't look at how they exist with the arm. The only pictures of the arm of the abrasions are with Mr. O'Keefe's arm extended. But that's not how he would have had it according to the test. It would have been at a 90-degree angle.
Dr. Rentschler, were there any peer-reviewed articles cited in connection with Aperture's paint transfer test?
I did not see, I was not provided a single peer-reviewed article with respect to the paint test or any indication of any test or article looking at arm contact with the vehicle or a taillight cover.
Can we go to slide 25? What are we looking at in this slide?
So in this slide, the picture on the far left is the photographs provided from the autopsy in hospital with Mr. O'Keefe's right arm fully extended.
Need to get something in my stomach. I'm getting a little nauseated. So do you mind taking it completely for a few minutes? I will be quick as I can. I need to get some food.
Again, those
Finally, somebody who bent the damn arm. I'm sorry, I'm tired of looking. Remember, I took the pictures and cropped them and bent them, but this is so much better.
the only photographs we have.
What about the photograph in the middle and to the far right?
In the middle and the far right, what I did was actually take that arm and then rotate the forearm to put it in a position that it would be in as demonstrated by the paint test with the arm at approximately 90 degrees.
What was the import of this,
Just curious, does that
this
look-
undertaking?
Does this not look like a dog bite? I could be wrong.
Well, if you look at the paint test and the way the arm's at 90 degrees and having the car come and essentially contact and push the arm out of the way, that's going to give you or tell you the directionality or the direction of the abrasions. Because if you have your arm at a right angle, and
Right, and remember, everybody so far agreed this is where the puncture begins. This is where it ends. The deeper is where the finish of the movement of whatever caused the damage. This especially looks more dog bite to me than anything, but that's my humble opinion.
vehicle comes and pushes and slides against it on that forearm, you would expect those abrasions to be horizontal, to be in line with that forearm.
Are they?
They're not. You can see some of them are vertical, some of them are angled, some of them it's hard to tell what the directionality is. But if your arm, again, is being struck and pushed this way, as it's pushed and as the car goes by, if this would occur in this manner, you would expect those abrasions
Oh,
to be
my
horizontal
Lord.
in the direction that the vehicle's actually traveling.
When you say horizontal, do you mean horizontal from the elbow to the wrist?
Correct, or parallel, yes, with the forearm.
Can we go to slide 26, please? This is yet again the same video that we saw earlier.
That is correct. This is the paint test video, yes.
And what has to happen in order for the paint in this test to reach the upper forearm?
Well, in this case, to reach the upper forearm, there has to be contact between the forearm and the taillight cover.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What is this slide showing?
Again, this shows, you can see on the right, I added arrows to kind of show the directionality of the different abrasions. And on the forearm, they simply do not line up with the type of kinematics or the type of motion shown in the paint test. Again,
Now, his direction and that of Dr. Russell's are not consistent.
the arm getting pushed out of the way and the car traveling past. If there were going to be abrasions from the fractured glass as it moves along, again, it would be lengthwise parallel to the forearm.
If the arm was positioned as it was indicated in the paint test done by Aperture, would you expect to see this pattern of injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's arm if in fact it contacted the taillight and if in fact it was abraded based on the taillight?
You would not. You can't get, for instance, horizontal abrasions on the upper arm and somehow get vertical and angled abrasions on the forearm. The kinematics don't work out to actually produce those types of injuries.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
All right, I'm trying to
What are we
move it.
looking at in this slide?
So again, this is the paint transfer test.
And by the way, thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you for coming back. And thank you for the new people. Please don't forget to do the likey thing. Whataburger 75th anniversary. They have about 10 mugs, 10 of these. I like this one because this is how they label what you want on your hamburger. They put these stickers on the packaging and then they wrap it. So it's a special. You want it dry with jalapeno bacon, no tomato. Isn't that cool? I don't know. Thought it was fun. Anybody doesn't know what Whataburger is? It's the best damn hamburger place in Texas.
And
You're what?
And I'm not in Texas, but they are wonderful anywhere.
Where are they? They're all over now, aren't they?
Well, they're in Arizona, they're in Indiana, they're in North Carolina. I've not seen them in South Carolina, but I hope they're here.
Well, they originated in Texas.
it demonstrates there were no measurements taken, so we don't know the exact size or location of that paint or of the lacerations. And you can see the photograph on the right basically shows that after doing the test, a picture of the right arm was.
Do you see how much paint is slathered? Excuse me.
That's a lot of paint.
On that tail light to get that transfer. And I still get creeped out looking at this guy with the same t-shirt, blue jeans, and tennis shoes that John O'Keefe had on when he died. There's no reason for him to dress just like the victim. Just any t-shirt, any blue jeans and tennies would have worked. That's creepy as hell.
Put next to it and basically eyeballed to say it's the same, well, it's only approximately the same area.
So I'm going to strike that. So next question.
Do you see any measurements, any tape measures, any laser measuring equipment, anything like that in that right photograph?
Nothing, no types of measurements whatsoever.
Can we go to the next slide, please? This is on the left, the same video that we've seen several times, correct?
That's correct.
What are we looking at on the photograph on the right?
So on the right, it is the video of this test taken from the side of the vehicle.
Did you notice anything of note in this angle of the paint transfer test?
I did. I slowed this video down, and so as you can see, as it starts out, and you'll see the vehicle starts to slowly back. So there was no photographs showing the position of the arm in the back of the car. The video is from the side, and the top video, you can't tell where the arm is positioned against the tailgate. But whatever positions it's at, you can see as the car backs up here, look at the elbow and the upper arm. If the car backed directly in this direction, there would be no contact with that elbow or the upper arm. And remember, this test is to show where the paint would transfer and if that correlates to the lacerations.
You mean before you start the video, when you say there would be no contact with the elbow or the upper arm, you mean the biceps area and from the elbow up?
That's correct.
Is that based on the photograph on the right and the positioning of the surrogate?
Exactly. You can see right now, if the car just backed directly straight back, it would not contact the elbow or the upper arm.
Before you play the video, what did you note when the car from the angle to the right of the video on the right? What did you note as the car, just before the car starts to make contact with the surrogate? What did you note?
So in order to get that pattern on the arm, right as the car contacts the arm, the surrogate pushes his elbow forward, leans into the car against the light, and then rolls off.
Can you play that for us, please?
He did.
Did you
He didn't
see
just
what
stand
you were
there.
describing in that video?
I did, and I can slow it down. So you can see, even at this point, as the car approaches, it would not contact the elbow or the biceps. So as it comes in, watch the elbow all of a sudden shoot in.
He turns.
Surrogate turns his arm in and then leans against the light cover. So this is not indicative of someone standing there and having a car back into their arm. In order to get that pattern of paint on the arm, someone would have to stand there, and as the car approached and contacted their arm, they would have to actually push their arm forward and lean into it to get that paint pattern.
Is that, in your view, proper scientific testing?
Sustained.
Let's move to the next slide, please. What is this?
And so this is that same event, and you can see I slowed it down even more just so you can see the actual movement of the elbow and the upper arm to get that pattern.
I said that from day one. Day one, I said that about how he is.
Thank
the
you.
car's backing up and he's
Can we move to the next
rolling
slide, please? This
into
is
the
slide
back
30.
of the car. Is that it?
And let's
Day
go to
one.
31.
Yeah, this is 31.
I'm sorry, 31. What
We got a
conclusions
bingo!
or opinions did you reach or could you reach after reviewing the totality of the results of the paint transfer test?
The paint transfer test, all it can show is the approximate of where the arm was covered in paint as the surrogate jammed his elbow in and rolled against the taillight cover. So it tells us nothing about what may have actually occurred, how the lacerations were actually, or the abrasions were produced. It doesn't talk about the kinematics of the arm to actually cause those abrasions. All it does is just say, under this specific condition, if someone was to stand there and then shoot your elbow forward and lean in, you would get paint on this approximate part of your arm, because we don't even have any measurements for it. That's the only thing that test demonstrates, and that's the only test that was conducted to look at the interaction between the arm and the Lexus in this case.
Did you reach any opinions and conclusions regarding whether the physical evidence is consistent or inconsistent with the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm?
I did, yes.
And what are what's the basis?
The
for those
basis
opinions?
is looking at the number of laceration or the number of abrasions on the arm, as well as the orientation and direction of those abrasions. And they don't correspond to how the arm would interact with the vehicle if it was at a right angle and struck by the rear of that vehicle.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, Doctor?
I do, yes, sir.
Can we move to the next slide, please? Actually, slide 33. I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Did any of the testing that you saw in terms of the paint transfer test or any other testing that you saw included in the Aperture report and the Aperture PowerPoint presentation indicate that there was any consistency or any results that were consistent with Mr. O'Keefe's right arm being struck by the taillight, causing 36 plus abrasions to his right arm while wearing the shirt, or the sweatshirt with 9 holes in it?
That's sustained. You have to ask that differently, Mr. Jackson.
Did you determine, based on the testing by Aperture, whether or not it was consistent, that paint transfer test was consistent with Mr. O'Keefe's arm being damaged by the taillight at speed?
I did.
Okay, and what is that conclusion?
That does not represent that at all. The evidence from that test, again, it's only puts paint on the arm. So in no way does that determine or demonstrate how, if the arm struck the taillight cover, how the taillight cover could shatter, how the movement of the arm could interact with the cover to produce those abrasions.
Did you go, I'm sorry.
There's just no evidence of that. There's no steps taken to demonstrate how, if that's even possible, would that actually occur in a case like that? First, you have to show it's possible. I saw no peer-reviewed articles, no research data, and the only test that was done that links the injuries to the taillight cover is this paint test.
Is that the paint test in which the arm was leaned into the car?
In which the elbow was shot forward and then the arm and upper arm was leaned into and against the cover.
Doctor, did you also go on to further your injury causation analysis by performing impact tests to evaluate the kinematics involved?
I did, yes.
Can you describe that for us, please?
Sure. So one of the steps involved in the biomechanical analysis is the kinematics, the motion. So we need to look at the motion of the arm. If the arm hit the taillight cover fractured, and you got abrasions, you need to be able to show that. You need to look at how the arm would actually move if it was struck by the vehicle. I've seen no peer-reviewed articles or research to demonstrate that. So what you need to do then is do testing to look at how the arm would actually move and whether it's possible to create those conditions to actually get that injury.
Did you use an ATD hybrid 3 arm for testing?
We did, yes. We used a 50th percentile male ATD hybrid 3 arm.
Is the use of that hybrid 3 arm accepted in your industry in terms of testing?
Yes, it certainly is. As I said yesterday, it's the gold standard for testing. And the arm itself is used just for that very purpose. In fact, there's a number of studies, they use the 50th percentile arm to look at airbag deployment. One of the issues with airbags for the driver is it comes out of the hub of the steering wheel. So if you're steering and you're turning your car and you hit something and the airbag goes off, what happens? It blows right into your forearm, and it can actually cause fractures. We see that quite often. So they perform testing with the 50th percentile arm to look at the forces and acceleration on the arm as airbags go off. Very similar to if your hand was hit by the back of the arm was hit by the back of the car and propelled forward. That's very similar to having an airbag deploy. Actually, this would probably be more severe. An airbag's almost like a giant pillow enveloping the arm, and here we have an SUV actually contacting the rear of your arm.
Can we go to the next slide, please?
Sure.
This is 35.
And take over for a
Let's
second.
see, here's 35.
There we go. Thank you. What's depicted here?
Do
So
something.
this was testing done at 15 miles an hour. So this is with the hybrid arm. and suspended so that it was actually impacting the right rear of the Lexus as the Lexus was traveling at 15 miles an hour.
Was there acceleration that was noted on the arm, force and acceleration?
There was on both the arm as well as the hand, yes.
What was the result of the damage to the taillight based on this test?
So in this test, there was actually no damage. As you can see, it catches kind of the hand and the forearm. And if you want to describe it as kind of a glancing blow, there was not enough force at 15 miles an hour on this glancing blow to actually fracture the taillight.
Is the position of this arm relative to the SUV consistent or inconsistent with the original spot that the surrogate in the paint test was standing as it related to the SUV?
It's consistent. We lined it up so it's consistent with that original location so that it would not impact the elbow or the upper arm. So at that position, if there's impact to the arm at 15 miles an hour, it doesn't cause the taillight to fracture. And it's also important to look at the kinematics. If you look at the acceleration data below, that hand and arm is accelerated. The hand's accelerated up to the speed of the vehicle in about 2 to 4 milliseconds.
How long does it take to blink your eye?
250 milliseconds. It takes a quarter of a second to blink your eye. So this occurs if your hand's hit at 15 miles an hour by a car, it's going to be accelerated up to the speed of the car about 50 times faster than you can blink.
Can we go to the next slide, please? And what are we looking at in this?
So this is lab testing at 17 miles an hour. So the housing and the cover was basically propelled into the forearm of the dummy at 17 miles an hour.
What was the acceleration that was noted on the arm?
So when you look at the arm, its acceleration here is almost 300 Gs.
What does that mean just to us?
So, 300 Gs, if you look at weight, if you say the weight of the arm is 10 pounds, 300 Gs means there's 3,000 pounds of force acting on that arm.
Is that enough to break a bone?
It's more than enough to break a bone.
Is that enough to fracture,
That's more G's than a jet fighter faces every day, taking off and landing. Jiminy Christmas, that would disintegrate, that would shatter the arm.
tear ligaments?
Absolutely, yes.
What about the bones in the hand? Are those stronger or the same resistance as the bones in the forearm? Or are they more delicate?
No, the bones in the hand are, as you can imagine, much weaker because they're much smaller. When you look at the carpal bones, the metacarpal interphalangeal joint, which is basically your knuckles, they are much smaller and it takes much less force to fracture your hand bones compared to your ulna or your radius.
Let's go to the next slide, please. What are we looking at in this slide?
So this is a 24 mile an hour impact with the arm of the dummy contacting the rear, again, tail light. And it shows you the motion, the dummy suspended, shows you the motion of the dummy and, again, the force and acceleration. Now, that right video I put in because that's real-time video. We've been showing the low speed, but look on the right. This is the actual speed at 24 miles an hour. That's what it looks like if you have your hand out and it's struck by an SUV.
Is the arm accelerated do the same physics apply? Is the arm accelerated up to the speed of the car in milliseconds?
It is, yes. It's all about weight, right? Because you have a 6,000 pound car and you have a 10-pound arm. It's whatever speed that car is going, your arm, your hand, whatever's sticking out there is immediately going to get accelerated up to the speed of that vehicle.
The video on the right is in real time. Like you said, it's sped up in milliseconds. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is the Hybrid 3 that's used in this test, is that suspended from above?
The dummy in this test is suspended from above, yes, like a pendulum, barely touching the ground.
Is the dummy connected to the ground in any way?
No, it's just its feet are barely touching.
What would happen if there were forces applied to that dummy that went perpendicular to the travel of the vehicle? What would happen to the dummy?
The dummy would swing out like a pendulum in that direction.
Based on your review of the test that was done, the 24-mile-an-hour test, were there forces on that dummy that were perpendicular to the car such that the dummy would swing out or be forced out or be propelled out away from the car?
No,
Perpendicular. Thank you.
there were no forces from the testing, and
Fake man is
it's
what I'm
simple
telling.
physics. Your center of mass of your body
Brain cramp.
is basically at your umbilicus or your belly button. So in order to move the body, you have to apply a force at that part of the body. If your arm's struck, it's not going to move your body appreciably. All it's going to do, your arm's like a moment arm, it's going to spin you around. Could there be some motion forward or backward if you take a step? Possibly. But the center of mass of your body isn't going to move. You have to get struck by the vehicle to have the body actually move in a specific direction.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What is this showing?
So this is a slow-mo of the overhead from the real time. It was a GoPro that was recording that real-time video, and this is a slow motion of that video.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. As you see the vehicle contact the
Oh,
arm, what
did you
happened?
see where it would have dislocated his elbow? See if I can get a look. See right here? Watch the hand come back and the shoulders stay. That would have
To
been
ask you a couple of
dislocation.
questions. As you see the vehicle contact the arm,
Ow.
what happens to the arm as it's being contacted in those milliseconds where it's being accelerated up to 24 miles an hour?
Well, the arm's accelerated up and pushed away from the body. So whatever part of your arm or body is contacting the car, that's going to be pushed forward away from the rest of your body. So not only is it loading the arm with an impact force as it strikes the arm and the hand, but then it's actually stressing the joints too. It's like imagine having a car come and 3,000 pounds of force pulling your arm forward at the elbow, at the shoulder joint. It's putting a lot of force and pressure on that appendage.
What's the G-force for the 24-mile-an-hour impact?
G-force, let me see
Could
exactly.
you pause that video for a second?
Sure.
Because I want to ask you a couple of questions about it as well.
Let me see exactly what that G-force was.
Do you need to refer to something?
Yes, my report.
With the court's permission?
Yes.
Thank you.
So at 24 miles an hour for the arm, the acceleration is 302 Gs. And for the hand, it's about 435 Gs.
Does that translate to over 4,000 pounds of pressure?
Well, for the arm, it's close to 3,000 if you say a 10-pound weight, and for the hand, that can be anywhere from 800 to about 1,600 pounds of force acting just on the hand itself.
Understood. Can you back this up a couple of frames?
Sure.
Pause it where I ask you. One more frame back. One more back. Right there. What's happening physically to the arm, to the right arm at the point of impact?
So there is a force on the hand, on the forearm, where it contacts. Now, your arm just isn't going to hit and the force be distributed evenly across the entire part of the arm. That's not how your arm is actually articulated. Even if it was, again, that's similar to an airbag deployment, where at these levels you would get fractures. But if it hits the hand, now, if Mr. O'Keefe's holding a glass at the time of this impact, think about that. What happens is you're holding a glass. It exposes the knuckles. So if you're holding a glass and your arm's at a 90-degree angle and the car comes back and hits your hand, it's going to strike right on the knuckles. The force is going to be applied right at that joint. And then it's going to likely hit along the forearm back near the elbow.
What's the shape of that arm in this still photograph?
Well, it's somewhat of an abnormal shape because the arm should be level with the body. The forearm should be even with the shoulder. But you can see as it gets pushed forward, it's accelerating that forearm away from the arm and the rest of the body.
Does that abnormal shape suggest anything to you in terms of what you would expect regarding the bones in that arm?
Again, there's thousands of pounds of forces acting on the arm and also on the joint itself, not just the arm or the bones we have to consider and how much force to fracture, but think of the elbow joint and think of the shoulder joint. It takes much less force to dislocate an elbow than it does to actually fracture it.
Did you see any evidence, based on your review of the medical records, including your review of the x-rays, any evidence of any dislocation?
There was no evidence or indication or diagnosis of any dislocations or fractures to the arm at all.
Fractures or broken bones at all?
Correct, nothing.
Can we go forward another frame? And at this point, the arm has already been struck and accelerated, is that right?
That's correct.
Do you see the taillight material?
I do, yes.
Okay, it's basically now broken, is that correct?
That's correct. It has now been fractured, yes.
All right, let's go one more frame forward. And the taillight material, did you make note of that in this frame?
I did, yes.
What direction is that taillight material going relative to the vehicle?
It's going forward.
And where is the arm?
The arm has been pushed away. Now, you have to remember, as that arm, if it contacts and fractures the taillight, it's not exposed to the fractured pieces that still exist on the taillight itself, because those pieces that fracture haven't gone anywhere because they're against the arm itself. And then as the arm moves away, the pieces then move with the vehicle.
Are the taillight pieces upon fracture moving at the same speed as the arm upon contact?
That's correct, yes.
Is that a matter of physics?
That is a matter of physics, yes.
Is there any possible way for the broken pieces of taillight to out-accelerate the arm upon contact when the arm's being deflected away from the vehicle?
It is not. I don't believe it's physically possible. That was not demonstrated in our testing, and I've never seen that demonstrated in any peer-reviewed articles. Now, you can see here again also the light and the fragments are being propelled forward. So you also have to consider where Mr. O'Keefe was found. He was found in the yard about 10 or 20 feet from the road. There was no exact measurements. But if you look at the motion of the taillight, it's going forward. Now, if Mr. O'Keefe has to move diagonally to the top left of that corner, and if he's not hit with the center of mass, he can't get to where he ends up before the taillight fragments have already gone forward and been deposited on the ground. Average running speed is like 4 to 6 miles an hour. Even if this SUV is going 10 miles an hour, the lights fracture, they're dispersed on the ground, and then Mr. O'Keefe somehow ends up to his point of rest. But you wouldn't find the fragments on him because they've already been pushed forward, come to rest, before he even has a chance to get to where they find him.
Let's go to the next slide, please.
So, in other words, let's take a breath. Give Diane and I a little handbrake. If his body is spinning away from the vehicle, which means it's his right arm, he's spinning to the left towards the flagpole, and he goes into the grass, the light fragments would most likely be found more on the street, not the grass, unless he was hit on the grass, which he wasn't. Let's look at the bingo card. What you doing, Miss Diane? Uh-oh, she mudded herself. What are you doing? I got you back.
I'm good. I was looking for a heavy piece of paper. I have to
Why?
print something.
Why?
Anyway, I found no broken bones because they were talking about the arms
Right.
were broken, and I found
So this is what's left. We have methodology that's checked. Sidebar. I've got a bingo. Judge Canoni chair. ARCA. Correct, right? Motion. And motion doesn't always mean like legal. It's body movement. It's motion. They said motion. I got 2 bingos. Karen, SUV and free. No collision. In my humble opinion, right arm injury, salty, damaged tail. Objection. my question is, I thought he said reverse speed.
He did. And he said damaged tail light.
Don't I have that checked?
I don't know. Do you have that check?
Yes.
You did. Okay, let me see. Let me look.
Well, I don't know what card you have. Broken bones? I don't have
Aaron
tail
Reed
light.
30.
What card are you using?
Aaron Reed 30.
This is 29.
No, yours says 30.
Oh, this is 29 up here. Never mind.
Oh, mine
30.
says bingo card 9.
Damaged tail light right there.
Damaged
Okay.
tail. Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Oh, don't go nowhere. Let me double check.
Now, why are you getting paper?
Cause I have to have a calligraphy thing for later today.
What time can you interpret till?
Oh, till about lunch.
Okay, my hands are killing me. I'm gonna have to take a break. Sorry, babe.
No, right.
They didn't say the word data.
Dada, dada.
I'm trying to keep Ronnie happy because I would have done test dummies because they're talking about they did say the test dummy. The dummy.
Dummy, dummy.
I did
Yeah,
say
they
that. I
said
forgot.
dummy.
I didn't check dummy. Well back. What does that mean, June? Can you elaborate? Well back. Oh, by the way, we're going to share this. We're just taking a quick brain cleanse.
Oh yeah, what's going on?
Continue for a fifth day. The LAPD's top cop blasting
Watch
the
the
move, and now
interpreter.
Mayor Karen Bass is taking to the mic. Let's listen in.
That is usually how we hear about a
Okay.
raid taking place.
I would prefer him to be in a light colored shirt because he is a dark skinned man. That
Yeah.
is too monotoned.
As
to
far as
read.
we know, there might be one rally today, but we don't believe there's going to be a series of them, and we don't have a lot of information about that one rally. I do want to say that at 6 o'clock tonight, though, there will be an interfaith prayer vigil of which I will be honored to attend, and it will be at 6 o'clock calling.
Okay, he missed a very important word, interfaith. He
Yeah.
didn't know how to sign it.
He said prayer
He doesn't know
celebration.
his religious signs. What?
He said prayer celebration,
That's not a prayer celebration.
but that's what he said. He said prayer
I know.
celebration.
Of which I will be honored to attend. So there will be about that one rally. I do want to say that at 6 o'clock tonight, though, there will be an interfaith prayer vigil of which I will be honored to attend. And it will be at 6 o'clock, calling for peace, calling for unifying our community, calling for supporting immigrant Angelenos. So
Okay, this is not support. This is like partnership, connection. That support. Very, very basic. Like 101 support. He's messing up. And I don't like his rigidness. I don't like his movements. I wouldn't want to watch him for long.
let me just say now, commenting about last night, the violence we saw last night, there is just no way to view it as unacceptable.
What's violence?
Damage, violence.
Not awful.
Yeah, not awful.
Awful is people. This is a hearing interpreter problem. They like to substitute words like awful for violent, damaging. I mean, they use that too loosely. Awful happening. Well, what's an awful happening? I
Could
don't
be
understand the concept.
anything.
What's awful happening? I would maybe go wrong, violence, destruction. Awful? That's fine.
Yeah.
But just awful by itself is not good. Okay,
So
Ronnie.
I do not believe that individuals that commit vandalism and violence in our city really are in support of immigrants. They have another agenda. If you support immigrants and the rights of immigrants to be in our city, you would not be tearing the city.
All right. What's that? What
Immigrants.
is immigrants?
Immigrants. I don't know. Maybe it's a regional sign.
Could be, but he's still not clear.
Knows. So let me just say now, commenting about last night, the violence we saw last night, there is just no way to view it.
Saul. That's what he's using for Saul. Saul awful. I would do that for What's the word I'm looking for?
Binocular.
No, not binocular. Can't sleep.
Oh,
Yeah, that. I can't think of the word. Oh well.
as unacceptable. So I do not believe that individuals that commit vandalism and violence in our city.
all right. He's doing exact English with ASL
He's doing exactly what.
notations,
Yeah,
connotations. He's signing almost every word, or the signs are in English word order, but he's doing not
he's doing
after.
transliteration. Is what
He's
doing.
mixing the two.
Yeah, he's doing transliteration.
Really are in support of immigrants. They have
Transliteration.
another agenda. If you support immigrants and the rights of immigrants to be in our city, you would not
Reason
be tearing
what?
the city.
Yeah, that's
He didn't
in
even do. He
He's
didn't even do.
do again.
Angelinos. So let me just say now, commenting
LA
about last
people.
night, the violence we saw last night, there is just no way to view it as unacceptable. So I do not believe that individuals that commit vandalism and violence in our city really are in support of immigrants. They have another agenda. If you support immigrants and the rights of immigrants to be in our city, you would not be tearing the city apart or vandalizing it. And I do want to say, especially for our national audiences,
All right, he
that
left out a whole sentence.
He left out you would not be vandalizing.
Yeah. City you not destroy?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have fun with this. Here we go.
those of us
Diane,
in
go
Los
for it.
Angeles
All three of us.
understand that the unrest that has happened are a few blocks within the downtown area. It is not all of downtown, and it is not all of the city. Unfortunately, the visuals
for it, Diane.
make it
All three
seem
of
as
us.
though our entire city is in flames,
Next
and
up,
it is
let's
not
start
the
again.
case at all. And I think it's important to say that. Now, having said that, though, the violence and the damage is unacceptable. It is not going to be tolerated, and individuals will be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And no individual that is involved in vandalism should think because they went home that night that they're off scot-free, because investigations will take place, and I am assured by the police department that there will be follow-up and arrests. The extensive vandalism downtown, especially of the graffiti that is just blanketing a number of blocks, has been extensive. We are 1 year away from the World Cup. This is about beautifying our city and bringing our city together. And so I am calling on business leaders, community leaders, faith leaders to come together downtown in the next few days to talk about how we are going to clean up the city. Obviously, city workers are already out there removing the graffiti, but this is so extensive, it's going to take community-wide
Okay.
involvement.
Now,
we had
you see, there's a good point in here. All three of us, same hearing, same thing, but we sign it differently. That's interpreting. But what's wrong with them? Number one, they're cutting him off. He's dropping very important information. He's not signing fully information. He can be cute all you want, but he's not passing
launched
the
a program called Shine LA a couple of months ago in preparation for the World Cup, and now we are called on to direct that citywide. We need people from all over the city to come to downtown and to help with this effort. The staff, the mayoral staff standing behind me, represent the best of our organizers and community liaisons, and they will be leading that effort.
liaison.
It's a.
Yeah, he said server.
I do
A liaison is not a server.
want to go back and say that, just go back in time a minute.
So anyway, I don't want to spend all night on this, but it's a long that. And the other thing is they needed to have a second interpreter. He's been there too long.
Yeah, and the other
They
thing
need to be flipping every so many minutes.
he should have had access to her speech beforehand.
Prior.
That way he could have checked out anything he did not know, and he would have known where he was going. That's so much easier. You can fly by the seat of your pants, but it ain't fun.
No, we've both done it.
Yes. I can fly by the seat of my pants. I just don't like to do it.
But I guess what I'm saying is I mean, he got the main information across, but part of the problem for me as a deaf person, if I take my ears out and I have to depend on his signing 100%, that was not really all that clear. And the monotone shirt and skin made it harder for me. You need to have a light color shirt with dark color skin. If you're light skin, you have to have a dark shirt. Because if I pull this down and I put my hand here and I'm finger spelling, it's
Illusion.
monotone. It's harder to see. Hence why we have the contrast.
The other thing is, for like people who read lips, this is a problem.
Oh, I hate it.
This up here was so distracting to me.
Like
Hair,
this?
no, that doesn't bother me, but his hair up
Bangs?
here bouncing, no, his hair bouncing and his
Yeah.
was so distracting to me. I mean, if I was deaf, I would be going, I can't watch him.
No, you're right.
It's just very,
Getting
very,
back in the view. Yeah,
I can't.
he needs to keep his hair back. Pull it back.
If you
I
want it
can't
long,
really see the
back.
eyebrows.
You can't see his facial expressions.
Not very easily. And the other thing is he needs to relax. He's young,
Oh,
but
yes.
he's robotic as hell. Hard to read.
Oh,
Gabby, you're leaving?
Gabby leaving.
Oh, Gabby leaving us.
Gabby leaving. Papa, Gabby, don't go. Don't go, Gabby. Excuse
So anyway,
me.
back to court. We've had our little palate cleanse. Back to court. All right, Miss Diane.
Yes,
My hands
back
are
to-
really hurting. Can you handle it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll try.
What is this slide showing?
So this is just frames taken from that actual video showing the interaction from the top left, then you go down to the bottom left, and then the top right and the bottom right just shows you the progression of the contact and the movement of the arm.
Is the bottom left frame the same frame that you stalled on just a second ago at my request, showing the deformation of his right arm?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. Next slide, please. And is that just a close-up of the same?
That's just a close-up of the same, yes.
Okay, next slide. And is that a final close-up of the arm after it's been deflected out of the way?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Does this also illustrate what you just described in terms of the trajectory of the broken taillight fragments?
It does, yes, sir.
Do you see any defect at all in the right sleeve of that hoodie?
There is no defect in that right sleeve of the dummy. No,
Was
sir.
the dummy's sleeve examined following this test? Closely examined up close rather than just a photograph?
It was examined and photographed, yes, sir.
Was there any defect in that right sleeve at all?
No defects at all were noted in that sleeve, no.
Next slide, please. What are we seeing here?
This, again, this shows some of the photographs taken of the sleeve and the arm to show that there's no defects whatsoever. And it shows the damage to the Lexus. And again, at 24 miles an hour, not only do you get damage to the taillight on the fender there, but you also get damage to the taillight on the liftgate.
Was there any damage on the taillight of the liftgate in the subject SUV?
There was not, no.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at in this video?
And so this was 29 miles an hour with a suspended hybrid 3 arm.
Was the arm in the relative orientation that you saw depicted in the paint transfer test by Aperture?
It was, and in fact, in this one, there's actually contact. We moved it in so that you would get contact with the elbow and the upper arm as well. So it's in the position after Dr. Welcher moves his elbow in and rolls his shoulder into the taillight cover. We evaluated that position with this test.
And do you see any damage to the liftgate taillight based on this test?
There's extensive damage at this speed, yes.
What about the damage to, damage would you expect to see to the arm itself at this speed and in this orientation?
Yeah, at this speed, I mean, we're talking 4,000 pounds of force on the forearm, and with the hands, 1,400 to probably 3,000 pounds. I mean, well above levels where you would get fractures.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at in this slide, these two photos?
This was the final test that was conducted in using a dummy, and it was impacted at 29 miles an hour. And this was a center of mass impact.
Why was it important, Dr. Rentschler, why was it important to do a center of mass test?
Because if we have an auto pedestrian impact and you want to see where the pedestrian ends up, you have to evaluate how they were impacted by the car. In order to have the pedestrian move any substantial difference, it has to be hit at the center of mass. Again, it has to be hit at that belly button area to propel the body in a certain direction depending on the speed and direction. If there's no center of mass impact, how does someone get to the point of rest? You can't correlate a side swipe where the arm gets contacted and say if someone ends up 20 feet away, there's no way to correlate that arm impact caused them to somehow move 20 feet away. It wouldn't be as a result of the actual incident. It wouldn't be a result of the impact pushing their body in that direction.
From a physics standpoint, is it reasonable to believe that your arm
Physics. Thanks. I
could be
forgot.
struck,
Problem.
just your arm could be struck as it's out in front of your body, and you could be propelled backward, say 7, 8, 10, 12 feet as a result of that strike?
No, it's not reasonable. That's not physically possible. And you look at the arm itself, and we're looking at talking about the injuries and the abrasions compared to fractures. So if Mr. O'Keefe's arm was hit at 24, 29 miles an hour, what this suggests, and there were only abrasions, what this would suggest is that if the taillight doesn't cover or fracture, you can have your arm hit at 24 miles an hour and you wouldn't have any injuries at all,
25 miles per
which from a
hour.
biomechanical standpoint doesn't make sense.
June. First of all, Defender of Faith. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Maybe he was grabbed at the last minute and didn't have time to prepare for the news update. Ronnie, that is very true, and that's fine, but that does not explain the wrong use of very basic signs. Now, this may be their immigration. We can accept that. But support and celebration for vigil, no, a lot of mistakes. So, Diane,
Yes.
June, will you accept 25 miles an hour? Because nobody's saying it. Everybody's saying 24,
He
29.
just said 25.
He did?
He just said 24, 25 miles per hour.
Oh,
Where's
okay,
June?
never mind. We're good.
2 years old.
We all good. Let's go.
If the claim is that the fractured taillight's the only thing,
So I'm sustaining the objection to that. I'm going to strike that portion, Mr. Jackson.
Let's go to the next slide. What are we looking at in this video?
so here's the video showing that strike at 29 miles an hour with the center of mass impact to the dummy.
What's the import of this particular test? Why was this important, and what did you conclude following this impact test, the center of mass impact test?
There's a couple of reasons. It shows there was extensive damage to the rear of that Lexus. So if you had a center of mass hit, you would have damage to the liftgate, to the fender, to the sheet metal. You would have substantially more damage than what we had in this case. And secondly, which I believe is just as important, it shows the post-impact trajectory of the dummy. So again, if you're struck on the corner by the Lexus, the dummy goes straight back in line with the vehicle. There's no force and no direction to actually cause that dummy to move off into the side of the vehicle. So you can't be hit center of mass with the vehicle going straight back and somehow end up 10 or 20 feet to the side of where the vehicle is traveling.
So in this circumstance, would you expect the taillight material to be distributed straight back in the same center line as the vehicle is traveling?
Yes, absolutely.
Would you also expect the body to be struck and move in the same center line as the vehicle?
Sustained is too far.
Sure. What about the body? What directionality would you expect on a center mass hit?
The body's going to move in the direction that the vehicle is moving. That main direction, that main force, moving straight back, the body is going to move primarily straight back.
Did you reach an opinion or conclusion regarding whether the right arm kinematics are consistent with fracturing the taillight cover and sustaining the abrasions that you saw on John O'Keefe's arm?
I did, yes.
What is that opinion?
My opinion that it is not consistent with contacting and fracturing the taillight cover.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
I do, yes, sir.
Can we move to the next slide, please? And if I could have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
That's
On what do you base your opinion that you just told the jurors?
That looking at the kinematics of the arm, it's inconsistent with the evidence we have with the actual abrasions to the arm, the evidence on the sweatshirt, and that at these speeds, you would likely expect fractures, certainly to the hand, and likely to the ulna and the radius and the forearm, if your hand or arm was struck by the rear of the SUV.
Can we move to slide 48, please? What are we looking at in this slide?
This was a study where they used an impactor and they contacted the dorsal or top part of cadaver hands. And they looked at the force that was exerted and they looked at how many fractures were produced as a result of that.
Did you review scientific literature regarding hand injuries under this sort of impact loading? Is this representative of that?
It is, yes.
Next slide, please. What is this?
So this shows the position, and this is taken directly from the aperture paint test. You can see the position that Dr. Welcher had his hand against the tailgate right at the time of impact. And you can see that corresponds, the contact areas correspond to the areas of the hand that were actually tested in this case.
Next slide, please. What is this showing?
So this shows the forces produced during the test as well as the forces produced during our testing. And maybe the next slide here actually better. If you look at the knuckles, which are the blue middle region, and then the metacarpal bones, which are the lower one. So for the metacarpal phalangeal joint, the knuckles, on average, it took 397 pounds of force to fracture that joint. Well, the 15-mile-an-hour test produced a minimum of 483 pounds. And more realistically, that's just with the hand weight. There's going to be more weight because it's attached to the wrist. More realistically, it's twice that, so it's around 900 pounds of force. But what these tests show is that the force produced on the hand, as represented by the PowerPoint from Aperture, even at 15 miles an hour and likely below that, you would expect to get fracture of the hand bones, of the knuckles, metacarpal interphalangeal joints, and the metacarpal bones if you contacted the rear of that vehicle at that speed.
Did you see any indication in the x-rays you saw or the medical records that you reviewed that Mr. O'Keefe's hand was damaged in such a way that you would expect?
There were no indications whatsoever of that, no, sir.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at in this slide?
This was a test where they actually looked at the force on the elbow. So this is a direct longitudinal force against the elbow. Now, there's no indication of exactly, the paint test has the arm horizontal, but there's no indication, there's evidence of whether maybe it would be angled or if it's straight horizontal. But even if your arm's angled a little bit.
But see, this is what I have argued again and again. We don't know. Hey, squeaky wheel, welcome. We don't know what angle the arm was in. Was it bent? Was it halfway? Was it straight? We don't know. Neither do they. So it frustrates me that they only did the test in one position, the paint test. If you truly wanted to do a thorough test, then you would have done it bent like this. You would have done multiple. So that's where I have a problem with this test. Welcome, squeaky
At
wheel.
the point of impact. The forces, again, on the right are what we determined from our testing, and those are minimum. Again, that's just with the forearm. If you include the entire arm, it's about twice that. So even at 10 miles an hour, you're going to have 600 to 1,200
question.
pounds of force acting on the arm.
Is that
And if
enough to break it?
That's enough. If you strike the elbow, that's more than enough to actually fracture the different bones of the elbow.
If an arm was hit at that speed with those forces, would you expect the x-rays to show no trauma, no broken bones, no fractures, no hairline fractures?
I would not expect that, no, sir.
Next slide, please. What are we looking at in terms of this slide?
So these are just more articles that I referenced, and they look at impact force on the forearm, so the ulna and the radius. It takes, just to have a transverse blow right against the bone, it takes about 1,100 to 1,200 pounds of force to cause a fracture. We're at that level already at a 10-mile-an-hour impact.
What about a 24-mile-an-hour impact?
24, we're at 1,400 to 2,800 pounds of force.
Did you see any trauma on John O'Keefe's arm that was suggestive of an impact of that nature, of that size, of that force?
There was no trauma, there were no fractures, there wasn't even an indication on the arm of where it would have contacted the vehicle. So if there's fracture at the taillight, there's going to be a force at that point on the arm where it actually contacts the taillight and causes that, right? There's going to be a force riser to cause that damage. There was no bruising, there was no lacerations, there was nothing at the alleged point of contact which would indicate an impact that produces thousands of pounds of force on the arm. No evidence of it whatsoever.
You just mentioned this in your answer, but I want to ask a little bit further. We've talked a lot about bone fractures and ligament damage, et cetera. What about bruising? In any of these tests, would you expect to see bruising, at least bruising, all over the arm at the points of contact?
Absolutely. Bruising occurs when the blood vessels just below the skin are ruptured, and it causes blood to flow into the arm.
Was there any indication that John O'Keefe suffered even a minimum amount of bruising on his arm at all?
No indication of any amount of bruising whatsoever on the forearm.
Next slide, please. And let's go to the next slide. I think we want to jump to slide 50. What slide are we on? Is that 53?
This is 55.
A bit of tomato and it squirted.
Let's go to the next slide. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. What are you looking at here?
So this again is from the paint test, and it shows, even as the arm gets pushed in, the vehicle's not in line with the center of mass with Dr. Welcher here. So it's not a center of mass impact. And this is important because we've just looked at the arm, and we've looked at the kinematics and the force and whether that's consistent with what happened and the injuries. The next step is to look at what happens if the arm gets hit. How does Mr. O'Keefe end up where he does in the yard? So that's post-impact movement or trajectory of the body. You have to evaluate that if you want to link all these events. If you want to link the head injury to contact with the car, you have to know what happened in between. You have to know the details. And so the next part was to evaluate that.
Is there any indication in any of the testing that you did or any of the review of the medical records medical records of John O'Keefe, including the autopsy records, all of the autopsy records, the x-rays, and the hospital records, any indication that John O'Keefe was struck center of mass?
None whatsoever. No indication at all that he was struck center of mass.
Do you have an opinion or conclusion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty about whether he was struck center of mass?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
I don't
Not.
believe that he was. The evidence indicates that he was not. If he was struck center of mass, imagine that. You're getting hit at the pelvis. You're getting hit on the thigh. You're getting hit at the knee. And then the body's being propelled forward. Your arm would get pushed into your body, into your ribs, into your torso. You would have very significant and substantial loading to your body, initially the right side of your body, as that impact occurred. And there's no evidence whatsoever that occurred.
Switching to a glancing blow. a blow of just the arm, not the center of mass, but just the arm, do you hold an opinion and a conclusion as to whether or not a glancing blow or a blow to the arm only would propel Mr. O'Keefe 7, 8, or 10 feet perpendicular to the line of travel of the vehicle?
I do.
What is that opinion?
It would not be possible. Our testing demonstrates that. The peer-reviewed articles demonstrate that. I've seen no evidence anywhere in this case that would suggest or even indicate that if you get a glancing blow or a sideswipe blow, that somehow would produce enough force to push you 8 to 10 feet into the yard. I don't believe it's possible. I've seen no research that would indicate that would occur.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
I do, yes, sir.
Can we move to the next slide, please? And let's go to the next slide. Let's keep going. Okay. What are we looking at in this slide?
So this slide, it's a paper that describes how to evaluate vehicle pedestrian impacts and how someone moves in the projection of that body.
Did you seek to analyze a fulsome understanding of whether it was possible that Mr. O'Keefe was hit on his lower extremities?
I did, yes.
Why did you do that? Why was that important?
Well, because with automobile pedestrian impacts, the lower extremity, your legs, your ankles, your knees, that's the most injured part of the body during auto-ped impacts. So if he's going to be impacted at that speed, especially at center of mass, there's likely going to be injuries to his leg, to his knee. The bumper lines up with the knee. That's one of the most commonly injured parts, as the bumper pushes into the knee, fractures the tibia, the fibula, or damages the knee joint.
Did John O'Keefe suffer any injuries to his lower extremities suggestive of a vehicle impact?
No, I believe the only injury was a 0.5 centimeter abrasion on the outside of the right knee.
Could Mr. O'Keefe have suffered a 0.5 centimeter abrasion on the outside of his right knee by being struck by an SUV at 24 miles an hour?
I don't believe so. I don't see how those kinematics would work.
Sustain.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not that injury was from being struck by an SUV at 24 miles an hour or somewhere around 24 miles an hour?
I do.
What is that opinion?
I do not believe that injury is consistent with being struck by an SUV at approximately 24 miles an
Do
hour.
you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
I do, yes.
Did Mr. O'Keefe suffer any other injuries to his legs or his lower extremities other than that small, how big was it? How many centimeters?
0.5 centimeter abrasion.
That small 0.5 centimeter abrasion. Did he suffer any other injuries to his lower extremities indicative of being struck by a vehicle?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Taking a look at the photograph on the right, concentrating on that for a second. How did that SUV get in that condition?
That was by striking the dummy at 29 miles an hour, and that was a center of mass hit with the dummy.
Were you able to review photographs of the subject SUV, Ms. Reed's SUV?
I was, yes.
Did her SUV suffer or suggest any kind of damage anywhere close to this?
No, the only real damage was to the outer taillight cover on the fender itself was fractured.
Next slide, please. We've seen this. This is the video that was the center mass impact.
That's correct, yes.
The photograph that we just saw previous, what relationship does that photograph have to this field test?
That was the condition of the SUV after it struck the dummy here at 29 miles an hour.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What are we looking at in this series of diagrams?
So this is some more recent testing that was done, and this test compared impacts between a small sedan and an SUV, and show it's looking at damage or injury to the legs as a result of this type of an impact. And these impacts are actually conducted at a speed of 24.7 miles an hour. They used cadavers, people who donated their bodies to science, set up the cadavers and struck them at just about 24 miles per hour.
Did this support your opinion and conclusion concerning the lower extremities of Mr. O'Keefe and the possibility that he was hit by an SUV at speed?
It does. If I can go to the next slide, it actually.
Sure.
So this shows you for the SUV, it's the last column on the page there, the last 3 columns are the injuries associated with the SUV strikes. There's fractures to the pelvis, left knee injury to the ACL, the MCL, fracture of the tibia and fibula. There's extensive damage to the legs of all 3 of the cadaver subjects that were struck at 24 miles an hour with an SUV.
Did Mr. O'Keefe show any signs of any of these injuries?
He did not, no.
Next slide, please. Is this, what are these photographs and diagrams on the right?
So this was taken from the PowerPoint from Aperture. And so it shows that the medical diagram shows the 1.5 centimeter abrasion. And if you look at the picture on the left of the surrogate, you can see, so the bumper would line up from the knee all the way up to the pelvis. So a vehicle at speed of 24 miles an hour, if it impacts that knee or that leg, it's not going to produce only a 0.5 centimeter abrasion. It's going to get the leg, and it's going to cause significant damage to the knee and to the leg itself.
When you say from the knee to the pelvis, are you talking about the width of or the height of the bumper itself being from the knee to the pelvis?
I am, yes.
Would that be the contact area that you would expect if there was even a glancing blow to the knee and the hip?
That's correct. You can see on that picture there where that bumper, the rear corner of that bumper, where the bottom reflector is, it extends from the knee all the way up to the pelvis.
Can we go to the next slide, please? What are these diagrams?
Again, these are just reports, peer-reviewed articles demonstrating that auto pedestrian impacts result in lower extremity injuries and fractures.
Did you review all of these peer-reviewed articles that you've told the jurors about, the academic articles, in furtherance of coming to your opinions and conclusions?
I did, yes.
Did you see any reference in the Aperture report that you reviewed and the PowerPoint slides that you reviewed that the concomitant peer-reviewed articles were sought in the paint transfer test?
No.
Or cited?
There was only one article that was cited in that report with respect to automobile pedestrian impacts.
Did it have anything to do with the paint transfer test?
It did not, no.
Next slide, please. And let's keep moving until we get to yes, there we go. What does that slide depict?
So this is the opinions that were offered in the Aperture report. And if you look at the top, number 4, it says the totality of the evidence is consistent with the right rear corner of the Reed Lexus, again, impacting John O'Keefe and Mr. O'Keefe striking the rear posterior aspect of his head on the frozen ground. And when you look below that, it basically has the references or the support for that one conclusion.
I'll see you both at sidebar for a minute.
Sidebar. Oh no, I don't want to be like, again, part of what I evaluated with the expert is that the testimony is geared to whom is paying them.
So I have a question.
one-
Dana.
Hold on. Yes.
My question is, if one group totally debunks the other group's stuff, like Aperture, they're able to throw out Aperture. Does Aperture have to pay everybody back?
No, it's not about being, no, they get paid no matter what.
Okay.
It's up to the jury to decide whose testimony they believe, period.
Okay.
Now, the thing is that June said, again, a part of what I evaluate with the expert is their testimony is geared to who is paying them. I somewhat agree with that, but I have to say it. And I was just thinking to myself, and by the way, I'm not interpreting I'm having a RA flare up. My hand and knuckles are in a lot of pain. The diagram with the car and how the legs would move, the way he has taken the arm from a straight position and digitally bent it, all of this kind of evidence I was hoping to see from the prosecution, but in support of their theory. I don't see this kind of work done by their professional experts. That paint transfer didn't go very far to me because, again, he only did it from one angle. And I agree with the defense. He rolled into that vehicle in a very specific manner. It's like he practiced it and then they recorded it, my humble opinion. But that does not mean that that expert witnesses do not. I mean, they usually agree with the people that are paying them. Although I really appreciate the work and everything this guy has gone into this. I am I am connecting. Do you need it again? I am connecting with his. Is that your dinging?
I don't
Did you
know.
have a bell that just went off?
Somebody's bell went off, but I don't think it
It
was.
wasn't mine. Okay. So anyway, we'll see who the jury believes.
Hey, we do have. We have what? Ask
Report.
your question. We do have ask your question done.
All right. The only thing I have left now is DNA. May I approach? Not my question. If I'm wrong, June, let me know.
But ask your question has been asked, has been said. She says, ask your question a different way.
This guy or Arca makes more sense in your opinion.
Huh.
I understand. Yep. This guy to me, pretty clear. Just saying. All right, here we go.
Dr. Rinschler, can we move to slide? I have just a moment, Your Honor.
70, Mr. Jackson?
That's what I was just going to do. 7, thank you. I wish
That's
my eyes
bad
were
when the
better.
judge tells you the slide number. Come on, Mr. Jackson, get it together.
Slide 70.
All right, guys.
Oh,
I'm reading, by the way.
let me restart it here.
Bingo, bingo, bingo,
Thank you.
bingo, bingo,
Okay,
bingo.
what are we
bingo.
looking at in slide? This is slide 70. Yes. What are we looking at in slide 70, Dr. Rinschler?
So this was the one article that was referenced in the Aperture report with respect to automobile pedestrian impacts. And there was a chart from there that was referenced in the PowerPoint that indicates the head's the most commonly injured body region in pedestrian impacts.
And what significance did that reference have in your analysis?
Well, that's not accurate. This article was written in 1979. And the first modern SUV, the Jeep Cherokee, wasn't manufactured until 1984. So this is an article that's 46 years old that doesn't actually relate to this type of an impact. And that's the only peer-reviewed reference with respect to automobile pedestrian impacts that was cited in the entire Aperture report.
Can we move to slide 71? Do you recognize what's depicted in this slide?
I do, yes.
What is depicted here?
So this was hybrid. This is the
Looks like they're dancing and he's grabbing butt.
Oh, it does. It does.
But I don't like this test because this guy here holding the crash dummy is assuming that John O'Keefe fell straight backwards, unconscious, without trying to brace for his fall. If we're conscious, drunk or not, and we fall, we're going to try to brace. So, him assuming that John O'Keefe fell backwards on a totally just what I call a plant backwards and hit his head without trying to twist and brace himself, to me, is not realistic. He didn't just do what I call a dead man's fall. He wasn't dead vertical. Because if the ground caused the head injury, now if the car had caused a head injury and broke his neck, he would have fallen that way. But here's the thing. I see two things that this defense has put forth. One, in the beginning, the ground was so hard, it was hard as rock. And when he fell and hit his head on the ground, that caused the damage to the back of the head. But then this guy, talked about the spoiler hitting him in the back of the head and causing the damage. They have changed their story, which concerns me. Okay, I got to do another comfort break, man. This coffee's running through me.
50th percentile hybrid 3, the same dummy that we utilized. And Dr. Welcher performed a test where
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
So this ATD, anthropomorphic test device,
Yes.
was not a 95th percentile test device?
It was not, no.
Is it 50%?
It was a 50th percentile, yes.
Is that the same exact, not the same exact, same exact sized ATD that ARCA utilized in all of its testing?
It was, yes.
Okay.
And to get the forces on the head, Dr. Welcher scaled the acceleration results based on the weight, which is what I was talking about yesterday. You scale the results from the 50th percentile. That's exactly what Dr. Welcher did in this case.
Is that an appropriate way to adjust for the size of an ATD?
It absolutely is, yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
So this test, what he did, he took a 50th percentile dummy, stood it up, and then let it drop backwards and strike its head on a concrete surface.
Next slide, please. By the way, Dr. Rinchler, did the last slide include a video?
I believe it did, yes.
Can we go back?
Or I'm not sure it's on this slide, though. That's just a screenshot.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to that slide for just a second. I thought this might be the video of it.
Oh.
So in the lower portion of the center of the screen, you see Dr. Welcher holding the ATD. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you review a video of what happened next? This is not the video, but did you review the video?
I did, yes.
Describe for the jurors, since we don't have access to the video, what did you see happen from this point forward?
So Dr. Welcher releases the dummy, and the dummy just falls rigidly backwards, almost like a tree, and impacts the concrete.
Can we jump from your PowerPoint to a video that I have and ask you if you recognize it with court's permission?
Is the video in evidence?
It's in Dr. Welcher's PowerPoint.
Is it before the jury? Is it in?
It is.
Okay.
Okay. Do you recognize this?
I do, yes.
Is this just look like the same screen, basically same thing that you just took a screenshot of?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay. If we could play the first couple of seconds of the video and pause it. As that video began to play, did you recognize this as being the same video that you reviewed earlier?
It is, yes, sir.
And did you utilize this in coming to your opinions?
I did, yes.
Opinions and conclusions in this case?
I did, yes.
Thank you. Let's go ahead with the court's permission. Can we play the video? Thank you.
The lady's not here yet. Her husband picked up the car.
That hurts me just looking at that.
What did
y'all.
you see? Describe what you saw in this video.
So this is a passive rearward fall of the ATD dummy. So just releasing and let it fall. Obviously, it's a dummy. There's no musculature. There's no response to that dummy. So this is what would happen if a rigid individual just fell backwards onto a concrete surface.
Can we see it one more time, please? I want to ask you one other question. I'm going to ask you to take note, Doctor, of the impact location. Did you see that?
I did, yes.
What kind of surface is that floor, if you can tell?
That, I believe it indicates it's a concrete surface, concrete floor.
Did you notice if the falling backward like that, the dummy slid across the floor or was propelled across the floor, anything like that?
It did not. It just dropped and angled backwards and hit directly on the floor.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. I'm sorry, if we could revert back to your PowerPoint. And if you could pull up slide, I think it's 72.
Let me, every time we do that, I have to restart the PowerPoint. Okay.
Why did you include this video one more time in your PowerPoint here?
Because, again, this is the paint test, which indicates the position, at least that Dr. Welcher had himself at to get the impact with the taillight cover. And notice, again, so it's not a center of mass hit. It hits his arm and then he slides by. So if that were to occur, he would rotate or move to the left. So if Mr. O'Keefe did that and somehow ends up falling backwards, rigid directly onto his head, he's going to have to rotate at least 270 degrees and then stop and then fall directly backwards onto his head. There's no explanation of the kinematics.
Sustained is to the end of that. I'll strike the end.
Do the kinematics support what you just suggested?
Objection.
Sustained is to form.
What do the kinematics support?
Objection.
I'm going to see you at sidebar for just a minute. Jurors will be taking our break.
Okay, so I guess we're taking a break. Wow. Okay, that works. We can zoom maybe a little bit. Yep. Let me get your voice on, Diane. How you doing, Di?
Doing okay. Doing okay. Sidebar.
Sidebar over.
May I continue?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Welcher, based on your review of everything...
Actually,
Did I do that again? My goodness. This is Dr. Welcher in the video, correct?
Correct.
All right. I was staring at that. I apologize. Dr. Rinschler, based on your review of the video in which Dr. Welcher is positioned, as well as the drop test that you saw, as well as the discussion of being of the body placement, where you discussed the body placement. Do you have an opinion as to whether or not the testing that you reviewed from Aperture is consistent or inconsistent with John O'Keefe being struck by the vehicle, propelled perpendicular, backward, say 7 to 10 feet, and falling straight back onto a hard surface as depicted in the drop test?
the testing's inconsistent with those types of kinematics or that type of scenario.
On what do you base that opinion, sir?
That's based on the testing that was performed, the evidence available in this case, and the kinematics of how somebody would move post-impact after being struck by an SUV.
Do you hold that opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
I do, yes.
Can we go to the next slide, please? May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Squeaky wheel, Aaron connected me on my comment and to you earlier. I misread your comment. Yes. Okay.
Finally, Dr. Rinschler, do you have an opinion, or did you reach a conclusion, whether the biomechanical evidence in this matter is consistent or inconsistent with Mr. O'Keefe's right arm being impacted by the subject 2021 Lexus 570, resulting in a backward fall leading to the head injuries that he suffered?
I did, yes.
And what is that opinion?
My opinion is that the evidence is inconsistent with Mr. O'Keefe being struck on the right arm by the SUV and then moving laterally into the yard and falling backward onto
And
the
do you
back
hold
of his
that
head.
opinion to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
I do, yes, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, so now we'll take our break, folks. We'll see you in about 20 minutes.
Please rise for the jury.
20 minutes? Are you sure?
You
Is
are
you
muted.
sure?
I'm
You
tired.
positive? Wow. So, what are your thoughts, Miss Diane, about his testimony?
I think he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And he certainly did a lot more tests than the other people did.
Really?
Sounds like it to me. But then we know me, I don't know a whole lot about tests and stuff. Oh,
Well, I kind of got a little upset.
with what?
I bought this Bible a while back from this place. I still have the receipt,
Uh-huh.
believe it or not. And some of the pages are printed diagonally.
Really? That's interesting.
Yep. I have a really nice one. But anyway, and they wouldn't exchange it because I already wrote in the Bible my
Well,
name and all that. Like,
well,
okay. Runny, let's look at my sister jokes with me because I wasn't able to get my hands out of my pocket. She asked me, why didn't I break my fall? And I told her because it happened so fast. Couldn't get my hands out of the pocket. Well, that would be a good explanation of not being able to break your fall, but your body still reacts.
oh, I did
If
it
you
once.
will, okay, you feel no dog.
I did it once. Did not break my fall. Had 2 black eyes and broke my front teeth. Right
Oh, that's
before
not.
oh yeah, it was not fun at all. So I looked like I had been in a really bad fight with a baseball bat. Really, really bad.
Okay, guys, we're gonna zoom in a minute. Wow, that's weird.
Hmm.
My chest broke my fall.
Oh, well,
Do you know
yeah.
what's funny? I embarrassed a group of guys last night because we were talking about. He pulled out this kick butt monopod for a camera, and I said, "Well, women have built-in monopods. You do this, put your elbows over the boobage, and you hold your camera, and you can just swing your body. It's a balancing." By the way, who don't know me, I'm Ada. Nice to meet you. This is Diane, our interpreter. And I am rolling on something. And I was a 25-year professional photographer. So, yeah, I use my boobage to balance me. They used to laugh at me. I didn't have to carry a monopod or a tripod. It was good. Less
Right?
equipment I had to carry, the better.
Oh,
Just based on the little information I've learned in the last half hour, it seems easy to think the jury might be hung again. Too many experts, too many theories. The jurors to all unite. And I agree with that. I think we've had a lot of experts, a
yeah.
lot of contradictive, and a lot of back and forth. It's been an interesting trial. This trial has definitely been a totally different trial from the original trial. Totally different, massively different. And I'm here for it. And I'm glad for it. So anyway, somebody asked, what did I have in my hand? I was just moving this from one side to the other because this chick likes to play. I haven't been playing. It's been sitting like this last night.
Well, I'm about ready to tell you goodbye.
Yeah, of course you are. You're gonna leave right during the fun part.
Oh, I
And
know. I know.
I hate when they they disappear from you. So you're
Did
gonna disappear
I'm
while
gonna I'm gonna. Did you happen to did we do our meetings with your teacher Thursday, Wednesday, and Friday of last week?
no,
When did we do them?
I don't know. I'll look
I
it up and let you know. I'll look at
uh,
my emails and I'll send it to you.
yeah, I think I tried to figure it out because I want to try to keep track of that.
Get out of my way, dude.
Uh,
I'm on a bug search, man. I'm looking for bugs. Oh, do I have ants? Do I have ants over here? I
and
put a rotted piece of fruit out and see if I got any ants. Let me see if I got any ants.
what are you playing?
Nope. It's called
Farm?
what is this?
I don't know.
I'm brain cramping. What is this called?
It's called a game. It's called a game.
These these bother me. They're buggers to catch. I
Oh,
can't catch. Oh, I got him. Call me dragonfly. Okay, we'll swap it. What are we going to swap it for?
I don't know.
How about uh we'll swap it for shells. I got to go empty my buckets. So
Oh,
anyway,
we
what
never.
is this, guys?
What is it called? Is it called
I
Field a Farm?
forgot.
Build a Farm? I don't know.
No, Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing? Is that what it's called?
Animal Crossing. I totally forgot. Oh my
Never
gosh.
heard of it. Oh,
Oh my gosh, that is so horrible. I forgot. I forgot I had Animal Crossing.
is that
That's
what?
horrible, y'all.
Hey,
Howdy
it,
hi, howdy ho, howdy hey.
it's called life.
Oh, I love it. She can drink a cup of coffee.
Ah,
Hold it. I can just run around with my coffee. Whee! That's Ada. Run around with my coffee. Let's see if I got her to spin. See if I can get her to spin.
let me
Yeah, I
tell you,
did.
when my granddaughter, who is now 26, I think she'll be 27 this year, when she was about 2.5, almost 3, we were at their house. They were in Arizona and we lived in Indiana. And we were visiting, and Daddy had to go to the restroom, so he gave her
That's your
the
computer dinging.
oh well, he gave her the remote. He says, "Here, Maddie, run around." So she has the remote and she's playing Zelda. That's what he has this long time
I have
ago.
it, but I've never played it.
Well, he had it. He gave it to her. And all of a sudden, he disappeared, and all of a sudden, she's playing it, and she throws it down, and she runs into the kitchen, and she's running in circles. And I hear her go, "I'm running around, Daddy. I'm running around," because he had said to her, "Here, Maddie, you run around for a while." So that's what she did. She took him literally.
How
Literally.
cute.
Yeah, and she is now going to be 27 this year.
Oh.
So stinking cute they are. She is, and she went to college to be a audiologist, and is she's also a teacher. So she
Well,
does.
guys, maybe Aaron, you guys can teach me how to play Land of Zeldas. I have been in the process of redoing my island. Here's how you come in. This is what you see when you come in. Here's my
Mm,
island. Then you have to go left or right.
uh,
Uh, I built this water feature and I'm not too sure I like it. It's kind of cool, I guess. Um, but you can't get the view I want you to get of it. That's the problem. Let me see if I come over here. Okay. So you got water coming off on 3 sides and it's identical and it goes off on both sides. See? See? But yeah, no. I haven't played it much. My sister Tracy got me addicted to this.
This
My
game?
little island. I've got a lot of decorating to do. And she died, and I just haven't had the heart to play it. I plugged it in the other day, and it's just kind of been sitting in the same mode. I really haven't played it. I was just landscaping. I love her. She's so funny. She's got a strawberry for a horn. So I'll have to get a Switch. I've only played Legend of Zelda and Super Nintendo Link. Oh, yeah. I really love. Now this is the old Switch. I don't know if I'll get a new one. I'm tempted, but not for the money right now. I just don't want to. I love I call this my lavender farm, my little garden and lavender farm. Yes. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Meant to do this. Yeah. You got little emotions. You can do little. I get a kick out of them. Oh, brokenhearted. Yeah, that's where I've been. So anyway, and then you go pick up. I gotta pick up the shell. Oh, let's say hi. Let's say hi.
Good to see you again, Leonard. Oh my gosh, you look so elegant. I don't know why. It has to be your bohemian tunic dress. Super fancy, fabulously swoosh. Was that? Whatever. I'm never just standing near you. I just have to act as elegant as thou. The? I forget. Fancy stuff. It's too confusing. Leonard.
Yeah. So now I have to decorate my island. I started back here, created my garden. I created this little. Oh, I don't have my slingshot, but I created this view here. Come on. So anyway, and then we have the boats over here in the lighthouse. Oh, let's go see if Octavian's here. I think that's who's here. This is supposed to be a house for one of my villagers, but I decided to make it into something a little different and made it into a little bistro. Hey, Bood. Oh, wake up. Come on. Let's see.
See what he said. I had this really wonderful dream about something. It's all fuzzy now, but I remember it was great. Okay.
So anyway, that's a little bistro. You can take homes and make them into different things. It's kind of cool. The only thing I don't like is you can't put objects, everything has to go in a square. So you can't put anything super close. And then, of course, the beach showers. And then the beach bikes. Oh, look at my turtles. So you can, they have these little images of turtles you put on the sand, and then you take a shell and put over them and make turtle. That 3D turtle. So anyway, I'm going to put it up. Quartz back. Yippers. I just haven't played it. Maybe I should try and learn Zelda. Maybe it's just a mind block because my sister and I played it so much. All right, Mr. Brennan.
All right, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you. Dr. Rentschler, facts matter, don't they?
They do, yes, sir.
You've said it many, many times. Facts matter. Isn't that correct?
It was details, but facts matter too.
Do details matter, Doctor?
They do.
They're critical, aren't they?
If you want to prove that something happened a certain way, they're critical, yes, sir.
When you were talking to the jury and giving opinions about where Mr. O'Keefe might have fell or not fell, you were discussing where Mr. O'Keefe was lying on the side of the yard, weren't you?
Where he came to rest?
Came to rest.
Well, approximately, we don't know the exact position, but yes.
you said 10 to 20 feet, didn't you?
I believe so, yes.
You said that 3 times, 10 to 20 feet. Do you
Yeah.
think Mr. O'Keefe was 20 feet from the roadway?
Well, I think he's maybe 10 feet, but 20 feet is from, if you're hit by the car, you need some distance to travel. He couldn't travel just horizontally, or perpendicularly. So it would be at least 10 to 20 feet if you look at the total distance.
You have no idea where the point of impact was in this collision, do you?
Nobody does.
I'm asking you, not nobody.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
So go ahead and ask the
You,
question.
Dr. Rentschler, before this jury, have no idea where the point of impact was of this collision, do you?
That's correct. There's no evidence.
Play Exhibit 2, please. When you were giving your estimate 10 to 20 feet, Dr. Rentschler, did you ever see this photograph before or part of this video?
I'm sure I have.
Well, when you say you're sure you have, are you guessing or have you seen it or not seen it?
I'm sure I've seen this before, yes.
So you've seen this before?
Yes.
And when you looked at this video, did you look at the street and look at the area where Mr. O'Keefe was?
Sure, yes.
Sure?
Yes.
20 feet, Dr. Rentschler?
The way I explained it to you, yes, sir. 10 to 20 feet.
Details matter, don't they?
They certainly do, yes,
You
sir.
take that down, please. Did you speak to anybody today before you testified?
Here we
about
go.
Dr. Welcher's testimony in court?
Here we go.
I did not today, no, sir.
Before today, did you speak to anybody about Dr. Welcher's testimony?
I did not, no, sir.
At any point, did anybody discuss certain issues with you today that they said would be particularly important?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
When you began your testimony yesterday, before you even finished your credentials, you began talking about your work with the NHL and how important it was to use a 50% hybrid 3 dummy. Do you remember that testimony?
I did, yes, sir.
And you hadn't even finished your credentials yet. Was it brought to your attention that there was an issue in the testing because you or Dr. Wolf or you and Dr. Wolf chose to use a 50% dummy?
Not at all, no, sir.
In your preparation for your testimony, was it discussed at all that at the beginning you should get ahead of the issue and talk about the 50% dummy?
I didn't know it was an issue, no, sir.
Well, you know that the 50% dummy represents somebody who's 5'9", correct?
Approximately, yes, sir.
Approximately 173 pounds.
171, 172, somewhere around there.
And Mr. O'Keefe, how much did he weigh?
216, I believe.
How tall was he?
He was 73 inches, I believe.
So that is not a representative height and weight for Mr. O'Keefe, is it?
That height and weight, no, sir.
And so if you were making projections or analysis based on limb weights, they would be inaccurate if you didn't make adjustments, correct?
Well, they would certainly, the force on the limb would be less if you use a lighter limb. So if Mr. O'Keefe is heavier than the hybrid 3, and I use a hybrid 3, the forces I calculate would be an underestimate of the actual force acting on his body.
If you didn't make an adjustment, but you relied on the numbers from the test 3, the hybrid 3 dummy, ultimately the conclusions would be off, wouldn't they?
They would be an underestimate. Yes, the actual forces would be higher.
And so did you make any conclusions, or did you know that when Dr. Wolf did his tests using the hybrid 3 dummy, he didn't make any adjustments?
What do you mean? What adjustments would he make? You get the acceleration, but the acceleration's not going to change, and that's what we utilize. Then you can scale the weight of the body, but I'm not sure what he would have made adjustments for.
When you looked at the ratio of force and mass, if you use a lighter weight, the mass changes, doesn't it?
If you use a light, sure, yes.
And that changes the force equation, doesn't it?
That can, yes.
And so when you were discussing yesterday at the beginning of your testimony about the 50% dummy, had that issue been raised with you?
No, sir, it had not.
You had testified before, hadn't you?
In this case?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And you knew there was a sequestration order?
Prior?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't discuss the case with anyone, no, sir.
Well, you didn't discuss it with anybody, you said?
I did not, no.
before you testified last year, you were receiving information from your employer about issues and testimony in the case.
The party that retained us told us things. I didn't break any sequestration. They were the ones in contact with the court. So it was my assumption that whatever they were telling me was allowed by the court. They were the client. I didn't discuss anything with them or tell them anything, but yes, they told us certain things.
Before you testified under oath last year, you were getting updates from your employer about details of this case, weren't you?
Objection, Your Honor. Every approach.
Maybe we can have
Side bomb.
briefly.
Side bomb. I knew he was going to go there. I was waiting for it. Because he's trying to discredit him. And that's important. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We greatly appreciate you. Y'all have been simply the best. Better than all the rest. Y'all are amazing. Why is this important? Because if he did not follow the sequestration orders and all of that, that would not be good. The Commonwealth does not have a weak case. Well, let's see. Poke holes and reasonable doubt. I have to get a Switch only. Yeah, the only game I've played is Walking Dead. There is a Walking Dead game? Really? You're kidding me, right? RPGs? Is that real people games? I have no idea. What's an RPG? Brennan! You're making a case for reasonable doubt. Hush. Aaron E., what do you call reasonable doubt? I call it poking holes in the defense's case. Poking holes, reasonable doubts. Y'all are funny. For the Commonwealth, it shows weakness for the defense, which could swing towards guilt. Oh, I love the bantering. Y'all are awesome. I don't mind the banter. The weight is still in favor of the defense in reasonable doubt. Since I'm not convinced so far, I would have had not guilty. Commonwealth does not have a weak case. Absolutely has a weak case. Absolutely does not have a weak case. In my humble opinion, y'all, my new merch. We got merch. It's a coming. We got stuff coming. Really? I gotta Google this. Oh, that's too creepy. No, that's too, ooh, I don't like those. Role-playing games. Oh, okay. Cool.
Before you
I don't mind this.
testified
I don't like creepy.
last year, you were receiving information, not from the defense, from your employer, about other witnesses' testimony during the event, weren't you?
I don't know if they told us about witness testimony. They told us about certain evidence. I had no contact with the court, with the prosecution, with the defense. I had no idea what was going on. We were retained by a certain organization, and they contacted the court. They were in talks with the court about, I guess, what we could or couldn't do. Anything I got was from that organization.
Yep. Get on the mic, dude.
Voir dire 2, 118, line 15. Did you testify under oath that they did inform me, yes, about testimony and situations and events that came forth in the event that I was not aware of?
I don't know. They told us about evidence. I don't know if it was specific to who testified to what, but they told us certain things, certainly, yes.
What I just said to you, are those your words, sir?
I have no idea. I mean, if that's what's in the record, I assume it is.
Would you agree it
Referring to
certainly
the
helped you
FBI.
prepare?
It helped me prepare.
Yes.
It didn't make a difference to my analysis or conclusions.
Made no difference at all?
It did not, no, sir.
Would you agree it helped you understand what was going on during the trial?
I don't think it made a difference at all, no. It doesn't change the facts that I evaluated or the analysis I conducted or the conclusions I came to.
And so as you sit here today, you are denying that that information certainly helped you prepare.
How did it help me prepare? It didn't change the opinions I offered. It didn't change what was in my report or what I'm opining to or testifying to today. It hasn't changed anything I've ever testified to.
I'm going to ask you a very specific question, and I want you to give me a very specific answer.
So just go ahead and ask the question.
Are you denying that receiving that information certainly helped you prepare?
Honestly, I can't remember. It didn't change my opinion. I don't see how it would help me prepare. I remember there was evidence about trace DNA found that we didn't know before. That didn't change my opinion then. It doesn't change my opinion now. It doesn't have anything to do with my opinion.
Details matter, right, sir?
Details can matter.
Details matter, so let's talk about detail.
Sure.
Are you denying that receiving that information certainly helped you prepare? Are you denying it?
I'm going to allow it.
Yeah, I don't think that it did. It's been a year, but certainly it didn't change any of my opinions or what I opined to. It didn't change anything with my testimony.
I'm going to ask you one more time. I'll ask you a different question. Receiving that information from your employer, are you denying it helped you understand what was going on during the trial?
I'm going to allow that.
Of course you are,
I don't
Auntie Bev.
even think that it did. I don't understand that. I understood what was happening. I understood what the theory was. So saying that there's trace DNA doesn't change anything. It doesn't affect what my understanding of the trial was or what was happening or what allegedly occurred.
When you were traveling out to testify last year, you had phone conversations with the defense, didn't you?
I think I had like 2 phone conversations, 2 or 3.
So that sounds like a yes, you did.
Yes, there was one right before my qualification, my voir dire, where I talked to Mr. Jackson, and that was it. Other than that, I think it was just planning and scheduling.
Was there any discussion on how you could portray yourself as independent?
I don't believe there was.
So you don't believe?
Yeah, there was no need to.
That's not the question. Details matter. Was there any attempt?
So the objection's sustained. I'm going to strike that, folks, okay? Questions, Mr. Brennan?
Was there any attempt in your conversations to portray yourself as independent as far as your arrangements were concerned in coming out here?
No, I don't think so, because there was no need to, because it was independent.
When you had conversations with the defense, did they offer to give you transportation assistance getting here?
They provided a ride to and from the airport, yes.
And did you tell the defense that you'd prefer to take an Uber so that it would appear independent to a jury?
No, because I didn't take an Uber. I took their ride. If I wanted to appear independent, then I would have taken an Uber.
Did you have a conversation about that you were thinking about taking an Uber?
It didn't even cross my mind, sir.
And then after you testified, did you stay independent?
What do you mean independent?
No. Did you have any bias forming in you?
Any bias?
Bias, yes.
What do you mean? Did I have any bias?
Well, after you testified, where did you go?
Well, I was waiting for my ride, and to get back to the airport, they had to take other people, and so they were having a lunch afterwards, and they said, come have a sandwich, and then your ride will take you to the airport. So I went, and I had a ham sandwich.
You had a ham sandwich. Did you testify at some point that after you had something to eat, you just stood in the corner?
I did. I sat at a table, ate, and then went over and literally stood in the corner waiting for my ride.
When you sat at the table and eat, did you just eat your ham sandwich, or did more go on?
I ate. People were talking. I really didn't talk much at all.
Did you listen?
Well, certainly, I'm sure I did, sir.
Did you laugh along?
I assume if something funny was said, I probably laughed.
Did you talk about your testimony?
I don't, at this point, I don't even remember.
Let me alert you to something. When you were there at the luncheon, did you see a camera crew
I believe I did, yes, sir.
filming and documenting, right?
There were a lot of cameras, yes.
You know that you might have been on some of that footage?
That's fine. I could care less.
Okay. So do you think maybe you were talking about the case and their answers and laughing it up a little bit?
I have no idea, possibly.
You were involved in conversations with the defense attorneys, were you?
What do you mean conversation, sir? I had just gotten done testifying. I was having lunch. Whatever was spoken about at the table, I'm sure I heard.
You know what a conversation is when someone speaks to you and you answer.
Sure.
Did you have conversations with some of these folks?
Sir, I can't remember conversations I had last week, let alone a year ago. So I probably did, but I have no clue
Do you remember any,
what we would have talked about.
Do you remember accolades you might have been receiving because you had given certain answers to the then prosecutor on the case and laughing about the answers?
I have no idea.
You don't remember?
I can't remember last week what I had for lunch last Tuesday. How would I remember a conversation from over a year ago?
Do you remember when you were having conversations with some of these folks and you were laughing about when the prosecutor asked you about other evidence like DNA? You had a response, well, the physics doesn't change. You remember?
I don't specifically remember that, no, sir.
How long were you at the table eating your ham sandwich with the folks there enjoying the event? How long do you think that went on for?
I honestly don't know. 10 minutes? How long does it take you to eat a ham sandwich? 10 minutes?
And after you finished your ham sandwich and then you told us you stood in the corner, you got a ride back to the airport?
I did, yes, sir.
Yeah. After you got back to the airport, ultimately your company billed the defense for your time preparing and traveling and testifying?
I believe they did.
Well, you wrote your bills down, didn't you? You wrote your time down?
Well, I don't know who gets billed to it. I think it was actually, I wrote my time down and it was the same time code for the original employer that we had. I'm not involved in billing. I don't know who the bill goes out to. I just put my time in and do my work.
Do you know that the defense paid that bill?
I have no idea if they paid it or not.
And then now you have a new contract with the defense. Or I should say you have a contract with the defense, don't you?
I assume ARCA does. Again, I'm not involved in that. I don't do any part of the financials. I just do my job.
Do you keep your billing?
I enter my billing every week, yes.
Do you know how much you've been paid so far in this case?
I haven't been paid anything. I'm a salaried employee for ARCA. I have no idea how much ARCA's been paid.
How much has ARCA been paid because of your work so far?
I have no idea. I'm not involved in the financials, sir.
You have no idea how much time, how much compensation your company's going to get for the work that you've done and continue to do on this case? You have no idea.
Yeah, it's not my concern. It's not my department, so I don't.
Is that that's a no?
That's a no, sir.
Now, when you communicated with the defense, you texted, didn't you?
When?
At any point.
There were some texts, yes.
And at some point, there was a court order for you to bring a copy of your text?
I believe so, yes.
But when you say you believe so, details matter.
Yeah.
Do you know whether there was a court order for you to bring your text?
I believe there was, yes.
Did you comply with that court order?
I complied with, yes, with whatever I had.
Did
Yes.
you have any of the text messages?
I don't believe so.
What happened?
Well, there were like 2 text messages about where I could get my ride and what time. And so after that day, like I do many times, I'd probably erase those texts.
When you say probably, did you delete the text that you had with the defense last year during the trial?
Again, I had like 2 texts about scheduling, and I'm sure I deleted them like sometime around that time, like I do with most texts.
Did you ever use Signal?
I did not, no, sir.
Why not?
I have no need to.
Why would you have a need to?
I'm going to allow it.
I wouldn't have a need to. That's why I said I don't use it.
What's Signal for?
It's for, I think, for encrypted messages.
Do any of your colleagues use Signal to have conversations with their clients?
I'm going to allow that you're aware.
I have no idea what my fellow employees or cohorts do.
One of your fellow employees is a gentleman by the name of Dr. Wolf. Yes?
Yep.
You worked very closely with him on this case, didn't you?
I've worked with him on this case, yes, sir.
And working with him on this case, were you aware of his habits, of whether or not he used encrypted apps like Signal?
I'm going to allow it.
I'm not aware of Dr. Wolf's habits, no, sir.
When you worked on this case, when you began, you worked with a gentleman by the name of Mr. Klein?
But Scott Klein is another engineer at ARCA that worked on the case, correct?
And you worked with Dr. Wolf?
That's correct, yes.
You worked as a group?
Well, I mean, we all worked on the project together. I'm located in the Pittsburgh office, and Mr. Klein and Dr. Wolf are in the Philadelphia office. So we didn't physically work together, but we worked on the same project, obviously.
When you first began your testimony yesterday, you said that you were restrained in what you could do. Do you remember that testimony?
I do, yes.
And when you said you were restrained, were you attempting like a preemptive strike because of certain things you didn't do to try to ward off any questions about that?
Objection.
Sustain.
Let me ask it this way. Were the rules different regarding your initial investigation for you as opposed to Dr. Wolf?
I don't know that they were. I don't believe they were.
Did Dr. Wolf have free reign to do whatever he wanted?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you given free reign to do whatever testing you wanted?
I don't believe we were, no.
You, though, were you?
Was I?
Yes, were you given free reign to do whatever testing you wanted?
I mean, there was budgets, and we had to stay within certain values. So I wouldn't say I was given free reign because I couldn't do whatever I wanted.
Did anybody tell you what tests you could or couldn't do?
I don't think there was a list of specific tests or not, but you would discuss what would be done or what we could do and what the cost of those tests would be.
Were you free to suggest any tests that you wanted to?
I'm assuming I could suggest whatever I wanted to, sure.
Were any of your suggestions denied?
I can't remember. I don't know that they were. I mean, what we were constrained is what the client wanted to know. And so we tailored our tests to do that and tried to keep the budget and the cost of what we did in our analysis down for that very purpose.
Could you have suggested crash tests?
Probably could have suggested whatever I want.
Did you suggest crash tests?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it might have been brought up, but pretty sure that would not have been within the budget, so.
I want you to be detailed. I don't want you to guess.
Objection, Your Honor.
So without that preamp, go ahead and just ask the question, please.
Did you suggest doing crash tests last year?
I can't remember. We obviously didn't, but I don't know if that was brought up or not.
Since your memory is difficult,
Objection.
Sustained. Okay.
Once.
Sidebar. Oh, I'm tired. That's hard. Oh, y'all. I am sharing, download. Somebody was fussing at me about my spelling, and I'll let you know, I'm severely dyslexic. You're lucky I can even get my name right. Just saying. I do the best I can. If anybody wants to learn how to do the slides and use StreamYard and be in the background and pop things up and in and out, and you want to be the tech person for me and do the things like oh, like switching these comments. Come on, get off. Thank you. Come in and create those slides in Canva. Come in and I love my core junkies. Thank you so much for your support. You want to create or use these templates and change the names and post them and do all that and sign and run all this, I'll be glad to have some help. If y'all don't know, this is my setup. I am all over the place. Well, y'all can't see that. There we go. So I have 5 windows open here, 2 windows open here. This is the main. I have my over here is our comments in YouTube. I have also, you'll see I move this around the window a lot. This is Canva, where I create the slides that you see underneath with the name and the National Cake Day. And then I have my Discord, and up here I have my monitor for all of it. So if you're a real techie and you want to hop in and help me do some of this and take the pressure off, I'll take the help.
To remember things, do you write them down?
That's one of the ways you can do it, sure.
Do you do it? Do you write down things so you don't forget?
Depends what it is.
Okay.
It'd be a lot of work, y'all. But I would welcome somebody who wants to hop on and be in the back and helping me
You
hop all this
provided a
stuff.
CV, which is a resume.
That's correct, yes.
Resume outlines your education,
Yes, sir.
areas of specialty,
Correct.
and then it highlights your accomplishments as far as the focus of your specialty or the focus of your profession, what you like or what you do a lot, right?
Some of it, yes, sir.
So, for example, you have a number of publications that are peer reviewed.
Correct.
And peer review publications mean that you've written something that's been evaluated and considered by other experts in the industry and have been adopted or recognized, correct?
Well, that it's been published, yes, sir.
You have a long list of peer-reviewed articles dating back to 2003. Is that correct?
Yeah, as I said yesterday, most of my peer-reviewed articles are all written when I was in graduate school, correct?
Have you had any peer review articles since 2003?
Probably not, no.
And your peer review articles, 2003, deal with the evaluation of selected electric-powered wheelchairs.
That was one of them, yes, sir.
The next one, intelligent walkers for the elderly.
Correct.
Comparison of fatigue life for 3 types of manual wheelchairs.
Yes, sir.
Evaluation of a pushroom activated power assisted wheelchair.
Correct.
Displacement between the seating surface and hybrid testing dummy during transitions with the variable configuration wheelchair.
The hybrid 3, yes, sir.
Assessment of manual wheelchair ride.
Correct. I was looking at forces and accelerations on the body. Yeah.
Fatigue life of 2 manual wheelchair cross-brace designs.
Yes, sir.
Evaluation of selected ultralight manual wheelchairs.
Yes, sir.
Augmentation of 100 key ISO wheelchair test dummy to accommodate higher mass.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you would agree that all of your peer review articles deal with wheelchairs?
Well, wheelchairs and the kinematics and kinetics forces associated with propelling wheelchairs and injuries associated with that. Yes, sir.
Do any of them deal with pedestrian collisions?
No, they don't.
You've written a book chapter.
So you're basically saying that if he's not focused more on accident collision than he is on wheelchairs, then he's not qualified.
Yes, sir.
Smart technology for aging.
Yes, sir.
And again, nothing on pedestrian accidents.
That's correct.
That ain't good.
Expanded abstracts, you've written a few.
I have, yes, sir.
Suffice to say, dealing with wheelchairs.
And assistive technology, that's correct, yes, sir.
I'll be right back.
Any
Come for
have to
break.
do with pedestrian collisions?
I don't believe so, no.
Looking at your CV, you can note any area of specialty you'd like, correct?
You can put down whatever you like, I suppose, sure.
Sure. Have you listed any specialty as pedestrian collisions?
Well, not specifically. That actually falls under impact biomechanics, biomechanical injury causation. So I didn't list it specifically, but it certainly falls under the actual expertise that I perform.
Now, Doctor, when you worked with Dr. Wolf, did you have a chance to look at his report?
I did, yes.
If you saw anything in the report that was off or mistaken, would you have an opportunity to discuss that with him?
I'm sure I would, yes, sir.
Did you find anything about his report that was wrong as far as data?
I don't recall. If I did, I probably would have talked to him, but I don't recall.
You and Dr. Wolf were collaborating together, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
And when you collaborate, you relied on each other's data at times, didn't you?
To some extent, yes.
Some things Dr. Wolf did, you relied on ultimately for your interpretation and your conclusions.
I did, yes.
Did you write a report and talked about the acceleration of the ATD, the test dummies, regarding its hands and arms?
I did, yes.
When you wrote your report talking about this very specific data, do you remember what you
Coverall.
determined was the
Y'all, I have a coverall. I think I have a coverall. June double checked me, but I do remember him saying that's not my question. And he said, my question is, so I believe we have a coverall. Let's double check.
acceleration for the ADT right hand at 29 miles per hour? How many G's that was?
Let's see. Accelerations for the right hand.
Page 6.
Yeah, it looks like 863 Gs.
And when you were comparing data with Dr. Wolf, if something was different or off, would you correct it?
Oh, I'd talk to him about it, sure.
Okay. Did you ever talk to him about his collection of data regarding peak acceleration that the arm and hand experienced at a 29 mile per hour collision?
Well, when I think that 863 is from 1,000, the CFC 1,000 hertz low pass filter. And in his report, he used a lower number from a 180 hertz. So they're both accurate numbers. It's just how you actually filter the data.
So you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
And I ended up using a lower number than when I did my calculations.
Could we have Exhibit 1, please? You've talked a lot about this photograph. Do you see it?
I do, sir, yes.
And you described, well, you didn't describe, you read that these were superficial abrasions, correct?
That's the diagnosis, yes, sir.
Any of those wounds of puncture in your mind?
I don't make medical diagnoses, so I'm not going to comment on that, sir.
Well, you talked about x-rays and injury. I know you don't make medical diagnosis, but you were very careful to be detailed about what this was. Not a laceration, right? It is a superficial abrasion.
That was what was diagnosed by the medical records, yes, sir.
And you were very careful to make that distinction when you were critiquing Dr. Welch, correct?
Sustained in that form.
And so you also looked at x-rays, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And when you looked at them, did you try to give the impression that you've read them, even though you're not a doctor and you can interpret them?
Sustained.
Were you trying to interpret them for us?
No, it was actually interpreted by the medical examiner that there were no acute injuries.
So when you were giving all that information to the jury about the x-rays, was that your personal opinion, or were you just regurgitating something you had read?
That was the medical examiner's opinion, but certainly you can look at the x-rays and see that there are no actual fracture lines or space displacement between the joints. But it's the medical examiner and his diagnoses that I rely upon.
So when you were going through an explanation of all these different photographs and x-rays, you weren't trying to portray that you were giving your own personal opinion about it?
I don't give diagnoses, but if there's no fractures on an x-ray as diagnosed by an MD or physician, you can look at the x-ray and then you can see why there are no fractures. You can look at the x-ray and see where the fractures are if there's a diagnosis. So the diagnosis was no fracture, no acute injury, and that's certainly consistent with looking at the x-ray itself.
So when you were looking up the x-ray and holding it up, was that just a prop? I mean, were you simply just regurgitating what you read in the report, or were you doing a certain kind of...
Sustained.
Were you doing any kind of analysis yourself when you were sharing with us what those x-rays showed or didn't show?
The analysis is that there's no fracture or acute injury, and that's what the medical diagnosis is, and that's what the x-rays showed.
Are you giving us your opinion, or are you regurgitating what you read in a report?
That is what the medical diagnosis is, that there's no fractures and no acute injuries. That's what the medical opinion is.
So you're regurgitating what's in the report.
Sustained in that form.
Did you see any MRIs?
I don't believe any MRIs were taken or performed.
In
no.
x-rays, does it depict deep soft tissue damage?
Normally, it does not depict soft tissue damage, no.
How about muscle tears?
No, it does not.
How about tendon tears?
Not normally, except you can see laxity in the joints if there is tendon or ligament tears. Normally, you can see laxity in the joints, but it doesn't show the ligament or the tendon itself.
Nerve injuries?
No, sir.
Avulsion fractures?
Yes, sir.
People sometimes get MRIs to see if there's a fracture that doesn't appear in an x-ray. Yes?
Sometimes x-rays are the best for looking at bony fractures. MRIs looking at soft tissue injuries.
Speaking of wounds, you've cited a number of references, a number of materials in your reports, haven't you?